What's up, guys? It is Modern Craftsman Monday.
Monday.
We got Casey Knips on the podcast this week.
Dude, seriously? That really does surprise me.
I
thought it was Nips.
So did I. We were
The K
corrected.
is not silent.
I just want to get this out of the way. If you guys tune into the whole podcast, we're going to find out what actually makes John a little bit crazy.
Don't turn people off of this podcast.
They'll figure it out.
No, everyone's going to want to know.
I'm just glad we figured it out, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it was a big turning point in understanding John.
And your life.
When he dropped that. But seriously, Casey, if you guys don't follow him, extremely talented carpenter, works in, I don't know, would you guys call it a unique setup as a company?
Yeah, I feel like it's very like forward thinking. I know that there's a couple around here, and I think that they offer a lot of incentive. Like these co-ops offer a lot of incentive for younger people who don't necessarily want to own their business in the traditional sense, but want like some stake in it and kind of want that family feel. I think it's a good option for them.
It's super cool. All right, guys, this podcast is brought to you by Duration Moulding and Millwork. I thought about the thought of obtaining custom or semi-custom molding or siding profiles can seem daunting, especially in these days of extended lead times. Not so with Duration. The folks at Duration fully understand how important responsiveness is to builders and remodelers. Proposals are normally turned around to our distribution network within a few hours, and even the most custom profiles have a production time of just 2 weeks. To learn more about Duration Polyash products, please visit their website at durationmillwork.com.
Dude, first off, let's not take credit away from that we have Casey on tonight, but you were down. What happened? You were hunting down people who stole your trailer?
Oh, yeah.
Dude. Sweet. Did they do an episode of Cops or no?
I'm not going to lie. It was probably one of the more fun days I've had in a while.
Doug documented all of it, right?
I thought too late. I was leaving. I was like, Meg, I should call Doug. She was like, Nick, stop. I'm like, no, this would be really good.
Yeah,
this
that
would be really
sick.
Fun.
Bad boys. What you gonna do?
When was it stolen?
It was stolen Saturday night, and I haven't been in the office, so Ken called or texted me last night, and he goes, hey, you took your trailer this weekend, right? I'm like, oh, God.
Oh.
And I said, nope. And I walked back. I watched the video, and Saturday night, this guy pulled in, 3 dudes, backed up to the trailer. It took them 10 minutes to load it on. I don't know what the hell they were doing, and took off with it.
You had a hitch lock?
I did not. It was stupid. I should. It was. I'm
pretty
not
sure you can get a hitch lock off.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they're comfortable being there for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But I should have locked it. I had a bunch of stuff in it. I had planned to go there like 2 weeks ago to empty it and bring it back to my father because I used it to move some car parts and, but I didn't. But like I went into full investigation mode.
10 minutes. I remember the first trailer I stole. Jesus.
You should be able to back up and take off. You don't even hook the lights up. You just
if your living is stealing trailers, you should be good as hell at stealing. Like at least have those things you can like line up the hitch and your ball,
your backup camera, and just good to go.
But
that's funny.
That F-250 didn't have a backup camera.
I don't.
They were like shaking the trailer in that video.
Yeah, I know why they were shaking it. The wheel lock. The crank sometimes sticks, and you have to have pressure on the wheel in order for it to like crank back up in place.
Oh.
So they were probably fighting with it, and it was just humorous. But yeah, I found I got a lead on who it was, and I brought everything to the police station, and within an hour and a half, another city found it.
That's crazy.
Oh wow.
And they towed it. Basically, they put out like a stolen vehicle report. It lets all the
You don't have the code for that? You don't have the cop jargon?
I have no idea.
Well,
1026? It's funny. I walked in. I was like, "Hey, my trailer got stolen." She goes, "We got a larceny of a trailer in the lobby. Can someone come out here and talk?" I'm like, "Larceny? I should have known that." But I guess it goes out to all the departments, and the cop had just driven by it, and he replied. He goes, "Yeah, I just drove by it here in, whatever city he was in." And they towed it immediately, and they called me and said you can go pick it up, and everything was in it, no damage.
Did you tell him about the crank wheel?
No, I honestly
when
think
you guys go to pick it up,
dude, I think they dumped it. Like I think sharing it on social media, someone probably tipped them off and said, "Hey, I know that's your truck. You should probably get rid of that trailer." And they just
Did you get the lead? Did you get the lead from social?
Yeah, like within 10 minutes.
They knew who it was.
Do I know who it was?
No, like within 10 minutes, somebody gave you the name of who it was?
Yep. He was like 100% positive I know exactly whose truck that is.
Wow.
How?
I don't know.
That's impressive.
I had multiple people reach out to me. But, yeah.
That's crazy.
It was, let's cut all this out, by the way.
Oh, come on.
No, I know. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. But either way, it's my understanding. Well, actually, someone else, another person reached out and said, "Hey, can you call Detective?" I forget what her name was. That truck stole my trailer 2 weeks prior. So I called her, and she was like, she goes, "If you can send me the footage," I sent her. She goes, "That's the same truck, and that answers all the questions that we've been trying to answer for 3 weeks now." So
I would watch this show if it was like a detective one. This is my game. I love this stuff.
But I was up late last night. She goes, "Are you going?" She's like, "You're not coming to bed?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm finding out everything. I got a list of places I got to go tomorrow.
I got my bulletin board up. I'm putting strings. I'm attaching.
She goes, "Nick,
I'm unraveling this nest."
She's like, "Your truck's lettered." I'm like, "So?" She goes, "If you drive by their house, they're gonna know it's you." I'm like, "And if that trailer's there, I'm backing up into their driveway and I'm taking that trailer."
Yeah.
Repo.
And
I love watching repo videos when the tow truck pulls up and grabs one tire.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And I definitely should have called Dog the Bounty Hunter and had him go look for it.
Is he still alive?
I don't know.
His wife passed.
I think he died with Steve Irwin.
Well, it was a nice change to my daily routine.
So you think you're gonna have a career change?
I talked to Meg about it, but I don't know.
After last week.
She's like,
I can't tell you how many DMs have gotten in. People have cold call texted me.
Like, yeah. Oh yeah, same. And it's like, hey, that to know that I'm not alone and wanting to give everything up, I feel so much better. I'm like, good. I don't know how much better I feel, but
yeah. Well, as long as they're making change. I gave up my cell phone to every person that hit me up. I was like, because they're totally alone. They're like, one kid was like, yeah, I've been just totally out of it. My wife's like, what's the matter? And he's like, I tell her I'm fine, and then I can't tell her that lumber prices went up. I didn't have anything in my contract, so I'm out $20K. How many products is it going to take for me to gain that back?
Casey, you listened to the podcast? I know your wife did because she messaged me.
Yeah, we both listened to it, and I got about 15 minutes in, and I just I don't own my own business like you guys, but a lot of that just really hit home, and we talked about it, and even Tyler, your story, and with everything that's been going on, just wow. I mean, I think there's so many people that have those same feelings.
Yeah.
So it's just nice to hear it from guys like you.
Well, I'm glad to hear that your wife listened, and not just your wife, you did as well.
I've listened to every single one so far.
Really?
Come on
Nice.
now.
Setting records.
Every single one.
You gonna listen to this one?
No, there's no chance I'm listening to it.
That's always a good idea. You're too much of a critic of yourself. Casey, do you think it's especially this past year, or do you think it's an up and down since you started in this career? Or was there a certain time that you felt as though you go through these ups and downs more so?
I would say it's been getting worse as the years go on.
Yeah.
But I think this past year, it brought on I've got 2 young kids that are almost 4 and almost 2, so it's just there's just a lot of stuff going on, and yeah, all those feelings. I have it from a different end of just being the carpenter. Yeah,
is your wife able to work from home?
She did for, I think, the first 2 months. But then they went back to work, and she's been back to work ever since.
Damn.
Yeah.
Slave drivers.
Right?
That's a big company.
She's
got to keep that product moving.
Yeah, luckily she's got her own office, so she's very secluded. She can shut the door and not have to deal with so many people every day.
That's good.
You guys have family near you that help with the kids? Or did I make that up?
I've got my in-laws. Well, I've got a sister-in-law that lives up in the cities, but they have a daughter that's like 9 months, so they don't really help out because they've got their own stuff going on. But I've got in-laws a couple hours away that help out when they can. But so with then, COVID,
you guys have your kids in what, like daycare, or someone comes and watch them? Yeah.
Yep. Both kids are, my son's in a smaller daycare and my daughter's in a kind of a school program. So
I feel like that's tough too.
Yeah, we're kind of lucky that they're not at the age that they're not old enough that they're in like school and doing the homework. So that could present a whole different set of challenges, but even having young kids, and when they were home for like, I can't remember, like 6 weeks at the beginning at least, like trying to keep them entertained.
Yeah.
Was
my kids are the exact same age, 4 and 2, and it's like that's the every day. It's it's like you want to be frustrated with them, but at the same time, it's like they're just bored.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we're sitting down at dinner, and they're like, "Can we take a break?" I'm like, "Sure." And they get their scooters, and my house is 32 feet long, and they go zoom, 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 back and forth. And I look at my wife. I'm like, we just got to take them to a parking lot tomorrow, and let them just ride their scooters, because they're just so
move
bored.
Out of downtown Boston.
Well, that's. But,
with 2 kids.
Well, I did say, I was like, all right, next house definitely needed to be like 60 to 70 feet long. So we can get a nice shot for that scooter.
Let's take them to a parking lot.
A park.
Let them really rejoice in their childhood.
Yeah. Remember that time Dad took us to a park?
Watch out for that needle.
But
remember,
it is.
I used to love when Dad would pack us up on a Saturday and we'd go down to the parking lot. We'd hop curbs and ride around in circles.
We have to pick up the trash first, so you don't want to fall on it.
He used to get all the bums out of there first.
See, I thought I was doing something.
He found his trailer there once.
But it is. It's like that's the hardest thing with kids, and obviously school, and not having to deal with or to deal with the homework and things like that. I feel as though I'm grateful for. But it's funny. We were talking to a potential client a couple months ago, and she was saying that all of her, she's a therapist, and she was saying that every one of her clients obviously has kids different ages, infants, little kids, teenagers, preteen, whatever, and every single one of them has said, man, I'm so glad my kids are the age that they are, because I couldn't do it if they were a different age.
Yeah.
And which is nice, because you almost would think like, oh, I'm so glad my kids are old enough where everyone would feel the same way. But it's the same thing with us. It's like we're glad they don't have homework, and then the people that have homework, they're like, I'm glad they're not babies.
Yeah.
So I think everyone's just kind of looking at their situation and saying, hey, I'm glad I'm in this with the people that I'm in it with, and we can work through this together.
Yeah, I don't know if there's really a great situation or circumstance for all of this. I feel like it's one of those grass is always greener type of things.
Right. Casey, wait, you say from the carpentry aspect, like not as an owner, what specifically has driven up the stress level as a non-owner for you?
Sorry, you kind of are an owner though, right?
Yeah, so it's I'm part of a cooperative, so I am a co-owner of this company. I bought in. It's been like 4 years.
Let's unfold that. What does that mean?
So they started this terra firma building and remodeling co-op. I think it's probably been at least 7, 8 years. And they modeled it after another company called South Mountain. And it is, everyone has stake in the company that you put in 4 years and so many hours, and then you're eligible to become an owner. And then there's a vote. You have to get, I think it's like 90%. I can't remember the number, but of like the original, there was originally 6 owners, and then you have to get just 90% of the vote. So it started off at 6, and now we're up to like 17 or 18.
So what happens if we're not at a whole person vote? Do they like cut parts off?
Well, it usually doesn't.
To get the 90%.
It hasn't come down to that yet, but
we need an arm to hit 90.
But yeah, it's a very unique model that everyone has stake. Like you want to do your job well. You want to make sure your jobs are profitable, and then in turn, like at the end of the year, we divvy up the company profits. There's not many. I don't know of any construction companies around here that are like that. So it is very unique.
So what is the benefit to it for you?
Profit share?
Well, for me, it's like you put in, each year it changes, but you put in a certain amount of money at the beginning. But then incentive for me is they have it figured out that at the end of the year, and you deduct like your profit at the end of the year, we put so much in like allocated earnings, and we have all these different categories, and whatever is left that we can divvy up, we figure out how much that is like per hour, and each owner gets that per hour rate times the hours that they worked, and then that's how much money you get at the end of the year. So like
but you're drawing a salary.
Yeah, each year it's different though.
Sorry,
I mean, like from
debate.
From
salary.
from like the day to day, how are you surviving? Are you just getting the money from your jobs? What?
Well, for me, I get paid hourly, and then these at the end of the year, I get all the owners get a check for company profits. So some years might be, depending on how we did, might be nothing. We could decide to put it, in other funds. We could have really good years and, get quite a bit of money. So it just depends year to year.
Yeah. Do you get to establish your hourly rate, or is that something that they dictate?
That's something that they dictate. And then we have an annual review every year that, depends on the year. Some years you get a raise, other years you don't. So we still, even though it is a co-op, we still vote. Like there is a president, and he is the one who founded the company, and he's the one that sets, that does most of the reviews for everyone in the company.
So then it's probably very similar to working for someone, except for the co-op aspect of it. End of year and voting, and you have say and you have stake in it, but for all intents and purposes, you're going to work, you're working set hours, you're collecting a paycheck, right?
Yep.
Okay. I feel like I was overly complicating it.
Yeah, but I want to further elaborate on that. So it's like Tyler said, you're working for someone, but the buy-in is essentially the financial, let's call it, risk that you put in to be included in the profit share. So
Yep.
it's very similar to a profit share bonus structure with ownership. So the benefit is you put a little money up front or a lot of money up front as a financial risk, essentially throwing it. Let's say you're throwing it into the stock market and hoping that you guys have a good year to get a better return on that investment.
Yes. Yep.
And beyond that, with that aside, you're, and I mean this, you're essentially at that, with that aside, you're just an employee. Are there any other perks of being the owner? Like, I assume you're probably on like a board or something where you hold a position, so you guys are making collective decisions for the company. Is that right? As part owner?
Yeah, it depends. We have a management committee that, we vote in for president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. And that gets voted in on. You can only serve that term for 2 years, 2 years in a row, and then it's got to get switched up. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they are the ones that, decisions getting made, they know first. And then that information is then emailed out to the rest of the owners. And that includes hires, and other, right now we're trying to look for a new office building. Mm-hmm. So they're one of the ones that know first, and then that information gets passed down to the rest of the owners.
And they're selling all the jobs for. Do you have are you contributing to the bidding process or anything like that, or do they handle all that?
No, that's all handled by our office staff. We have 3 project developers, and then an office manager. So all the estimating is done on their end first.
And then are they coming to you with a budgeted amount of hours or anything like that to ensure that obviously the goal is for everyone to be profitable, but are they saying, hey, we're thinking you're going to have X amount of days in this, or is it just letting you loose?
That information, it's handed down from the project developer to whichever project manager is assigned to that job. And then from there, I'm a lead carpenter. So then it's a meeting with the project manager and myself. And yeah, we get a budget, we get a whole binder of the selections that they've made, budget, and a list of items that have yet to be figured out. So it's still a work in progress. There's still some things that are kind of rough. But it has worked pretty well. This company is 18 years old. So it's every year we're getting a little bit better.
That's it sounds way less like a cult than the last place, the last people that we spoke with, John.
I was actually going to relate it to Mike Whalen's podcast, where how to be an owner without
similar.
being an owner. And I think the one difference there, Mike, it sounded like Mike had a little bit more freedom in it, where, he could either do the work or he could hire it all out. He basically has a bucket of money to get the job done. Where Casey, you're not essentially running your own company underneath another company. You're a lead carpenter, and you're working with a project manager that's part of that company. So, similar, but it is essentially what the end goal, the end result is you're buying in to be part of the profit share.
Yeah. Honestly, that is the main, or, one of the main reasons. You could be at any
level, right? You could be an apprentice and buy in if you had the time there. It doesn't matter what ranking you are.
Nope, you don't have to have a ranking. If you want to be a production carpenter, as long as you get, your hours and 4 years, then you just get voted in.
And was when you initially went to this company, was your intent to, you knew all of this and to buy into this? That was what you were working towards?
No, this was when I started. They did not plan on doing this. I've been at this company for 9 years, and I think it was my 3rd year that they decided to do a co-op.
Oh, wow.
So it's been fun, honestly.
Yeah, that's pretty I feel like that's definitely progressive thinking. And I think, I don't know, it's an easy way to get stake in a company, especially that isn't offered with a lot of residential construction companies. It's a good way to kind of get people to have a little bit of skin in the game and establish that loyalty and that drive without really requiring too much of them. Or like, if you don't want to own a business, then nobody's making you be more so of an owner. You can still show up and just be a carpenter.
Yeah,
which sounds
exactly.
It's
sounds
crazy
kind of amazing.
Do you get any more responsibilities beyond just being the lead carpenter, or is it just the fact that the amount of money you put in get you a piece of that pie of profit?
It's just the amount of money you put in, and you can still be that same, same position.
Same
I don't have it.
Yeah.
Same responsibilities, unless you get, unless you want to be part of the finance. We also have like a finance committee. Like we have several committees that can add to your workload, but you don't necessarily have to do them if you don't want to.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Finance committee? Like, who the hell is joining that? Like, oh, I want to be on the finance committee.
What are your hobbies?
Yeah. Nope.
Finance committee?
Run away.
Numbers, spreadsheets.
So you can, am I right thinking that annual investment you can lose as well?
Yeah, that all that money that everyone puts in, that actually goes in like a separate fund, and that like does not get touched.
Let's look at it from the business side of things, right? If I'm a business, I have 18 owners, all you guys put, say it's 10 grand, whatever it is, right? And I get 180 grand sitting in the bank. I mean, it seems foolish as a business owner to not leverage that $180,000 for the 12 months, right?
Yeah, no, I get that, and we've gone through like
what would be the sorry, cut you off, but what's the benefit of you guys all putting 10? I'm fictitious number, guys, but what's the benefit of you guys putting in money if there's nothing to do with it, where like we can't touch it?
Yeah, it's just honestly, it's having like Tyler said, just having stake in it. With that money, you're wanting to become an owner of this company.
You're not at risk unless you put money in.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what I'm getting to. Like, what risk do you have if that money doesn't get touched? If the money's just sitting in an account and you get it back at the end of the year, it's like,
you don't get it back at the end of the year. Like that stays in an account. And
it's like your dues.
Yep. And if I remember correctly, like if you were to leave the company, that money, you would get that money back that you put in if you decided to leave like 10, 20 years down the road.
So they're literally it's in a holding account. They're probably making interest on it. Let's just say that, right?
That's huge numbers right there.
Yeah, right. So maybe it's just an interest-bearing. I mean, there's I guess no interest. I guess it depends on how much we're talking for an annual, but the risk is that you don't make any. Say it's 10 grand again, and at the end of the year, you guys don't have a good year, and it could be 0 bonuses, so you're out 10 grand. But the goal would be to get a bonus that's hopefully more than what you invested for the year for your dues.
Oh, and those, those dues, that's not yearly. That is like a one-time. One-time thing. Sorry if I was not explaining it. That's just a one, like you sign up.
Gotcha. So it's a one-time.
It's a one-time fee. Yep.
So exactly. It's a one-time fee that goes into an account. And John, like, I mean, it could be small numbers, but if it's just sitting there for 10, 20 years and just interest, or it's in some other account that they can leverage a higher growth on. I don't know whether it's in some sort of fund. I don't know financials. Someone's going to chime in and be like, "Oh, it's in this, Roth IRA or something." I don't know. But
Roths are capped.
Yeah. Well, again, not my specialty. But that's I would only assume that like there has to be some way that the business, and maybe I'm dead wrong, but I feel as though if I have this money sitting in an account, there should be a way to leverage that, whether it's,
it might give them the option for they're looking at a new building. It might give them the equity down payment for it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Or even cash on hand, like, being able to just prove something.
I don't know. I've always wanted to do the profit sharing. I just never thought about having my employees buy into it. Just, it's kind of I'm like, I guess I don't have to give it away. They can not just earn my trust, they can actually buy it.
But probably think twice about being like, screw you, I'm out.
Yeah.
So you basically didn't want to own a business and you wanted to be a carpenter. Was that how did you get kind of where you were, if we rewind it back a little bit, to getting into this field and taking this path? What did that look like for you? Because I do want to talk about your carpentry some, because I feel like you're a really good carpenter. Your execution's clean. You could tell it's well thought out. You're intelligent. And like from a carpentry standpoint, you do some crazy stuff, but it's not like, you can tell that you don't have the highest dollar jobs that you're doing, like these massive homes with endless budgets, but what you're putting into it, those skills, those techniques, all of it, I feel like could be put into any budget job and you're still knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, so I guess how far do you want to go back?
Whatever.
All the way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there ever was a little Casey.
There was. He was
you're
like
a monster.
He was 2 weeks old. He was very little.
Wait, hold on. So before we get there, at one point, I forget what you commented, that you were like 300 pounds or something at one point?
My biggest when I played was 334.
That's insane. And how tall are you?
6'8".
Jesus.
So
what
I'm
happened?
like 3 feet tall next to you.
So 334. So what are you now? Like 250, 275?
I lost 100 pounds. But COVID hasn't been good to me, so some of that has been gained back. But I'm about 250 right now.
Like, who has a scale on the screen right now?
I do.
Really?
I do not.
Yeah.
Now we can't hear Nick at all.
You can't hear me?
No, we can.
Yeah,
we can. I do not have
324 though. That's huge.
That's a. Like, I feel like you get in your car and the car kind of tips a little.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a little slant to it.
Yeah, I've always been a big kid, and I played football in college, construction management degree. I was lucky enough to. I was a free agent for the Arizona Cardinals in like 2012 or 2010, and I remember the day I stepped on the scale and it said 334, and I was like, oh my god. This is insane.
Where did you grow up where you are now?
Yeah, I grew up in Minnesota, very small town, like 1,200 people.
And where did you go to college?
I went to college at South Dakota State in Brookings, South Dakota.
Did football take you to college?
Yeah.
No, his parents did.
I'm just trying to, we always talk about college and we breeze over what the purpose was.
Well, I wanted to do like a carpentry program somewhere, but my mom was pretty adamant that I needed a 4-year degree. So South Dakota State was one of the few colleges around my area that had a construction management degree, and that I also could play football. So had a scholarship to play football and did the school, which I don't regret. The construction management degree didn't really serve me much purpose. It was kind of more geared toward commercial side.
Yeah.
But I have no regrets about going to college.
But you knew that you wanted to get into carpentry earlier than that, like middle school, high school, younger?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the kind of typical story. I watching Tom Silva, New Yankee Workshop, we had a really good high school shop program. So, 7th grade on, I had shop. Like my senior year, I think I had 4 hours of shop a day. So I've always known I wanted to do something, with my hands. And I had two summers in high school for like a small town construction company where we did pretty much everything, and I just loved it. So went on to college, and that was all football, so I didn't do anything construction really. And went on to, my wife got accepted to the U of M for grad school, so we moved up here in 2011 up to Minneapolis, and yeah.
So why didn't your mom want you doing a trade specific program? Why did she think? Was there any reasoning for it? Were you a troubled youth, or was it just that she thought you got to go to college and get a degree?
Troubled youth.
You don't look like you're the troubled youth type, to be honest.
I think I'm the complete opposite of troubled youth.
Maybe if you just saw him, you'd be like, yeah, he could be like a troubled youth. But if you talk to you, I feel like you're a giant teddy bear.
Yeah.
You're like,
it's a
very soft spoken, like super kind, super polite.
Yeah, and I don't. My stature helps me for sure, but I don't. I get very shy.
Yeah,
talking to people. I'm more like, if you come talk to me, I'll gladly talk to you, but it's very hard for me to like come and have a conversation with you. But yeah, I didn't have any problems in high school. And honestly, I don't know why my mom, I just specifically remember her saying like, you need a 4-year degree.
Yeah. I didn't realize that you were, I knew you had said you played football. I didn't realize you were that involved with football. So how long did the free agent thing last?
I was with them for like 5 months before I got cut. So I don't really talk about that often because at the time I was kind of embarrassed that I got cut.
Dude, but if you make it there, like,
that's a crazy accomplishment.
Yeah, I know.
At the time it was like 1 or 2% of college athletes made it to the NFL.
Yeah.
So like now I look back on that and I didn't make it that long, but it was fun. Definitely fun while it lasted. That's for sure.
But even like once you get into college athletics, it's like, all right, these are the best kids on every team. It's not, there's no scrubs. It's not like, all right, this person's okay. It's every player. Like, I know it from a wrestling standpoint, and like you go see Division I college wrestlers, and it's like in high school you wrestle, and maybe you wrestle a couple kids who placed in states or, won states, and then you go to college, and it's like every single kid that you wrestle won states 3 times, 4 times. It's like undefeated in high school. It's crazy the levels that it kind of like jumps up from high school to college and then pro. I feel like pro would be absolutely insane. Like, you are probably one of the smallest guys.
Well, it's, I'll never forget, there was a guy that was drafted the year before me, and he was an offensive tackle too, but he was 6'8", 420 pounds.
And probably fast.
He was surprisingly fast. Like, I have never seen a human being that big.
It's so crazy. And I feel like you don't even get it when you see it on TV or even when you're at a game. But then when you see them next to like a normal person and you're like
the guy at the camera.
Crap.
Yeah, the coach. Right.
Jesus.
And I looked at him eye to eye, but I was like, nope.
I'd be so scared. I feel like those guys have to hit so hard.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. Like, I remember playing high school football, and my high school coach was like, "There's nothing better than high school football." I was like, "Well, No,
college football. Coach college.
Yeah, college football is really fun. And yeah, even though it didn't last that long, the NFL is pretty fun. It's a whole different breed. Like you said, college is, you have like the best players. Well, now the best of the best.
Right.
And you think you're fast, you think you're strong. Like, no, there's always people better than you, which is just fun to be around.
That's so humbling.
Totally. Like, it's on your own terms.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you took a test and you failed and you got the grade back. You go out there and perform the exact same movement, exact same whatever pattern, whatever it is, and you just see how someone else can just effortlessly do it.
Imagine if we built businesses like this.
I was just thinking of the industry. Like, I remember when I went from high school to college, and I was like, I won like my drafting award in high school, and then I went to college, and I was like, dude, that was like I got a crayon award. It was done in crayon. It's like, you need to put that away because that doesn't have anything. There's no legs here.
But it's like, imagine building. Let's talk home building, right? A home building company where it's like you're taking the best from high school and putting them through college, and then taking the best from college, and then you're bringing them and building one company of collecting the best of the best.
Yeah.
I mean,
it'd be insane.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of one company that does that. I don't know if any industry does that.
Well, I mean, I think good companies do that with subs. I think good companies are always vetting the right sub because.
But because
I mean,
with restraint to geographic location.
True.
I'm talking like countrywide. Imagine hiring the best plumber in the entire country, and the best plasterer, the best painter in the entire country.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
don't know.
Yeah.
Dude, even if you just think of like
bonkers.
the budget for college.
I mean, it'd be like a budget for the NFL. An NFL game.
You think of the budget for like a NFL team or even a college team. It's insane. That's just like a massive machine that just pumps out money.
Right.
College is lucky because they have to pay the players yet.
I don't think so yet. Anyway.
Yeah, like they were pushing that they would be able to get because the colleges make a ton of money off of the athletes, those programs, the sponsorships.
Dude, there's
and all that.
100% kids getting paid to go to college and making money.
Yeah, it's
and high school,
financial aid
high
packages.
School. Yeah,
I don't know what you're talking about, Tyler. I don't know.
But I mean, you're right. It would have to be a crazy project. But I mean, I think if I were to sit here and dream about something, it's like to have a project.
Yeah, so maybe
I'd coach it.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do.
John, I need you in. You're in charge of the living room. We got a guy for this room, a guy for that room.
Fantasy contracting. You get to draft your picks.
Imagine that. We always joked about trying to do a build where we.
Dude, this could be an app. This could be another $1 million idea.
Yeah. Except there's gonna be like 5 people who want to buy it.
Well, it's your contract, instead of like the 4-year, $120 million contract, you got like a 6-month.
75 doors. 160 feet of base.
Yep.
Dude, this would be so fun.
I don't know. I feel like I'd rather sleep.
Like a full night's sleep.
So are you still pretty into football? Watching it?
I watch it. I much prefer college to NFL, but definitely not. I played it for long enough that I don't know. I don't get into it as much as I used to.
Yeah.
But
do you play anything recreational right now?
Is he frozen?
Yeah, we lost him.
But, it's a good time.
All right, we lost you for a second.
Oh, gotcha.
So doing like flag football on Turkey Day and just murking dads?
That's an idea right there.
Kids hanging off of them.
Get out of my way.
Just all like 7th graders.
So then, all right. So Casey gets basically put on the chopping block. Football's not going to be the career at this point. Was it like, all right, I'm going to be a carpenter?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, once I got cut, I moved back, went back home. I grew up on a farm, so I went back to the farm, worked for I think like 6 months. But I just always knew that, working with my hands, and then as I got older, just the carpentry side, especially, like watching this old house and seeing Tom Silva and everything that he does. I mean, it was just a no-brainer. There was nothing else I'd rather be doing right now.
So did you go to work for another company right away?
I did. It lasted about 6 months. The only job I've ever quit. That was some shady stuff.
What were you doing? Just general construction?
Yeah, just general. But even being like pretty young, some of the stuff, I mean, just looking back, I was like, I'm very glad I quit.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget that I quit. I didn't have another job lined up. I think I was unemployed for like a month, and I just kept researching companies around the cities, and I sent over 100 emails just asking for like, do you have any positions available? And I had like maybe 5 or 6 respond back.
Wow.
And you were just looking for a carpentry position at this point?
Yeah, pretty much anything.
That had to be so scary to. How old were you? 23?
23, 24-ish.
Yeah, to not have the football thing pan out, kind of come home with your tail between your legs, head down, which like realistically you had nothing to, but like putting myself in your position at this point, like being somewhat fragile, coming back, looking to get a job, and then walking right into a job that was a terrible experience, and then be unemployed and not be able to find a job. I could imagine being 24 years old, thinking to myself, all right, what do I do now? Like,
right.
Yeah.
What did I decide? What did I decide to do? How did I put myself in this position right now?
Yeah, that was a long month. I will say that. But out of the like 5 or 6 companies that called back, I think honestly Terra Firma was one of like 2 or 3 that like had positions available. And I went in for an interview, and the boss, did the interview. He was like, all right, let's walk around the block. That's what he does with like every new hire, walk around the block and just talk. And he's like, yeah, we'll start off at 2 weeks and just see if you fit in. And it's been, just over 9 years. So lucky in that respect that they've been, to be able to find work at that time and, be able to grow into a position that is really enjoyable and be able to work on projects that like, we don't work on like the super high end jobs around here, but definitely get some fun projects to work on.
So has the company grown since you started there?
Yeah, we've had a few come and go, but when I got there was like 15 or 16, and now we're like 29.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good-sized company. I don't know if we'll get much bigger.
And the primarily you guys are doing residential, you're doing light commercial or anything like that?
We've had a couple light commercial jobs, but it's pretty much all residential remodeling.
And so from a carpentry aspect, you took shop class. You can tell, obviously, on the finish end of things that technically you're competent. What do you feel like that was did that kind of transcend remodeling and transcend carpentry, taking those principles that you learned in shop class and then being able to apply them to the field? Because I guess where I'm going with that, I feel like somebody can be a really good carpenter in a shop where, like you're building things where you're not in a 100-year-old house, or, the constraints, you're not dealing with the constraints. You're being told, hey, we're going to build this in the shop. The people in the field can deal with that. We're going to set them up for success. But I don't feel that oftentimes translates from like being somebody who's good in the shop to being a good on-site carpenter, and you appear to have the ability to do both. Was that something that just came naturally to you?
Some of it came naturally, but the shop class in high school definitely helped. And it's just every job I do, I try and get a little bit better. But as far, I completely agree, like being someone who grew up in a shop versus on-site can be completely different, especially like working on older houses. Like we had a new hire a couple years ago that he came from a cabinet place, and then he comes and is working for us, and he had never coped crown. Like it always mitered, and was asking like, how do you cope crown?
Yeah.
So a completely different animal. I try and do things. There's always better carpenters than you. Like I just try and do the best I can. And it's just fun. Like every day you learn something different. You learn something new technique, new process.
Are you, you're working around the same people every day? Like if you're a lead, you have the same guys underneath you, same girls underneath you? Or is it kind of sometimes you just on the job by yourself, or what's the kind of structure of that?
It depends on the job. It's always someone new. You get different project managers, different production guys. Like there's not like a set group of people that always go job to job. It always switches up. And
can we talk specifically about that? Like, let's talk about the staircase that you did. I feel like that was a huge focal point of, a lot of your, social media content for a while. You built this, for those that don't know, Casey built this staircase that, had this basically curving outside stringer in the corner of a room. A lot of complex, just a lot of complexity to it. So like that staircase right there, that was with your company, is that right?
Yes. Yep.
So outside looking in and having guys that have done curved staircase now, I know how much time goes into that. And if I remember right, that wasn't something that you were just you went in there knowing exactly how you were going to do it. Is that right?
Yeah, I had no idea how I was going to do it. But
so in a situation like, I know how we dealt with it. We approached it with the client very specifically that, we're going to put an estimate together as to what we think it's going to take, but we need to agree that this is new for us, and we're going to, track our time and material. In your case, you're the carpenter, you're being tasked with this. How did you guys approach that staircase?
I remember going into my boss, like the president's, office, and he showed me the prints, and he was like, "Can you build this?" And
it's like, let me check IG. Yep, I can build this.
Kind of. I mean, I had no idea how to do it, but I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And he got a bid from another staircase guy or subcontractor that we've used before. Mm-hmm. That he does stairs and trim, but his number was like super low. So I don't know if he fully understood everything involved. Mm-hmm. So he asked if I could do it. I said, I don't know how, but I'll figure it out.
Yep.
And as far as like budget, I can say we definitely went over budget. Mm-hmm. It's a learning opportunity, but it was, he budgeted as good as he could. And, as it gets very complex.
Sure. And for as an owner, there's, I know what I do with that. If we're over budget, and it's a learning opportunity, it's marketing costs, whatever. But as from the carpenter's aspect, were you part of, kind of understand or projecting what that would cost? In that early discussion, or did they come to you and say, Casey, you have 400 man hours on this, go for it?
Yeah, I was not part of any discussion for how long it would take. Mm-hmm. I was given this is how many hours we think it's going to be. I can't remember how many hours I went over.
You going double?
Definitely.
I did not go double.
All right.
Did not go double.
Okay.
Just under.
Don't do that to me.
All right.
Just under.
Yeah.
Just
1.9.
No,
you definitely didn't charge for some hours, so you just stayed under the double.
Well, I guess that's where I'm getting at is, so you obviously they probably understood that they were going to go over budget, that there was going to be a learning curve here, but from being a carpenter, what does that do? If you're not making as much profit on this job, right, that impacts the entire 18 owners.
Yep.
At the end of the day. So what does that look like? What does that conversation look like? And I think what Tyler kind of just alluded to is, do you end up doing some of this work on your own time because you're super excited about it, or you don't want to let the 18 guys down because they're going to see in that monthly meeting that, oh, Casey, screwed us. He went one time.
Nobody's getting profit checks this year.
1.9 times on this staircase. There goes our profit.
And in the memo it says, "Thanks, Casey."
Yeah, what's it look like, as from the carpenter aspect, where it impacts so many people?
I mean, I still get paid hourly. I stopped there were a lot of hours that I didn't even bill for, just in the research of it and trying to and towards the end. But the amount
did your wife hate you at this point? Or just ignore you?
Little of both.
I feel like if you're like me, you're sitting there trying to walk through it in your head, and she's next to you, and you're telling her how you're figuring it out, and she's just like, "Yeah, Casey, okay, Casey, that's good."
She lost
just
it.
Ignore, yeah.
Third sentence in.
It's pretty much the story of my life, where Rachel's just like, "Uh huh."
Yeah, that sounds about right. And then she goes off and helps with the kids.
I feel like from Nick, with regard to your question, he's an owner. There's profit sharing.
Yeah.
They're over budget right now, so essentially it's costing the company. It doesn't necessarily affect you. Maybe at the end of the year to some percentage it does with profit sharing. But I also feel as though it's no different for what he's doing and what you're doing, Nick, as far as marketability now, because their company has on their website this beautiful staircase that he built that may get them in with another job, another customer, a higher end job, a project that's better for other people on his team. So I feel like it's not that much different. Casey's not footing that bill, so to speak, but it's still advantageous and beneficial to everyone in the company because that's their company that built that staircase.
100%. But I guess what my point is more directed to, what about the two guys out of the 18 that don't care about getting another curved staircase, and they're upset that Casey's staircase is impacting the bottom line? Is that more of a culture thing where everyone's kind of on board with losing some to win some? Or I mean, I can only imagine that out of 18, not all of them were super excited about the fact that, and I know you're not the only one. I'm sure all 18 of them have contributed to a loss at some point. But when that happens, it's, I think we talked about this, John, before. It's like with Mike, it's like, do you, how if you're busting your ass and one guy ruins it for the whole bunch, I'm only assuming that there's probably some negative feelings towards that. Maybe I'm wrong.
I honestly, I don't think there is, and that's pretty much to the culture of the company.
That's fantastic.
Because honestly, as soon as you start blaming people for that stuff, I mean, that's a slippery slope that, that's gonna be pretty bad for the company. But the amount that we went over, that was like deducted from our profit. So, from my standpoint, everyone did get a little bit less because of what I did. But I look back at that job and the amount of how much work I put into it, like sleepless nights, like trying to make sure this is all going to work. I mean, at the end of the day, like I hold my head up, even if we lost money.
You approached that job, I feel like, more from an owner's perspective, where you took it home. Yeah, like you took it home with you, and there's probably more hours put into that staircase off the job than on the job. With figuring out how you're gonna do it and planning for it and looking stuff up and asking other people. And I think that's more of an owner's mentality, where you're not sitting on the staircase at 10:30 in the morning now looking up how you're going to figure this out. Like it was go home, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, go home, look into this, stay up late, look into this, wake up the next morning chomping at the bit to get to it and see, if you can kind of materialize those thoughts and everything that you're sorting out at home in your head and actually make that come to life with that staircase.
Yeah, that was a go to work all day, come home, trying to read. Like I read one book, and I actually just listened to Bill from HDI Stair, like that podcast again.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he was like, yeah, there's some guy that I helped from like Wisconsin. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that was me. Because
that's awesome.
He was like, yeah, he was super eager, and like we were texting, and like we sent a couple emails back and forth, and like, with his help, and trying to research as much as you can. But that's one of those things that like you can research as much as you can, as much as you want, but until you actually like physically do it, like a whole different ball game. And
I think that's what I realized, and I didn't have the opportunity to get in there and help with the process of building that stair. But every time I would be on site and talking to the guys, my PM Nick, he modeled the thing in 3D. So he was basically working from a model and kept working with the guys through it. But
cheater.
Yeah. It's the easy way.
Yeah, it's super easy staircase.
Printed
it. I wish we could. But it's like when I talk to the guys, like even the guys building it, beyond Nick, they couldn't explain really what they were doing or how they were achieving what they were achieving. It was because it was like it's just how it's coming out. It's like you're doing this stuff live. There's so much that you're fitting in, on site. It's like I remember when they were framing the ceiling transition from when it kind of curved around and went from an ellipse to a curve and then flattened out on the ceiling. They're like, yeah, it just like you really don't lay anything out. You kind of just connect dots.
Yeah, I've been doing that my whole life.
Yeah, and it just and then you plaster it and ta-da, it looks good.
Well, that's like the bottom of that staircase was all plastered.
Yeah.
And I was like, where do you start?
Right.
Like you can't hold a level up to something because as soon as you move your level up the stringer, it completely changes it like inches.
Yeah.
And it's like more of an eye. Like, does that look good?
Right.
So it's funny. Like if we had the space, if we had a big enough shop, I would definitely build it off site and then bring it there and assemble it. But we just couldn't, definitely did not have the room.
Nick says that about houses.
Yeah.
If I had a big enough shop, I'd just put it all
working
in
towards
there.
it.
When do you guys want this delivered?
See, that's the type of thing where specialization makes so much sense to me, because no matter what, unless you do that day in and day out, like if you were to do that again, Casey, I'm sure that you would retain some of that stuff and it wouldn't take quite as long, but you'd still have to go through all of that again because you probably forgot more than you like learned on that job because there was so much stuff that went into it. And like, I know when I did that one porch roof where it's like the first roof I ever framed and it was a bastard hip and then like an irregular gable on the front, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I could work my way through it again and it would probably not be as difficult, but I feel like I didn't retain everything that I did there because it was just too much. It was like information overload. There was just too much at once. And I feel like with something like that, somebody who does that day in and day out, a lot of the principles are the same, and they're so used to doing that like they're way more efficient in their price point and everything else because they're not learning on somebody else's dime necessarily. They did at some point and they probably trained underneath somebody else. But I feel like that's the type of thing where somebody could do that at a price point and take way less hours who does that day in and day out. It's almost like, is it worth it for us to do? You know, if you can't find somebody, obviously, but like if you were to bring somebody in who just builds circular stairs, like that's like breathing to them. And for you, it's like, all right, where the hell do I even start with this?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because at the end of the job, I was very thankful to be given the opportunity to build it. But I think I wouldn't be like, if that project came along again, I would not be offended if they are like, "Yep, let's get in a stair company to do this." Just like time wise, they do it so fast. They've got the room, they've got the machines. It's fun to know like kind of what goes in there. I feel like people who build stairs, like and all the railings and all that intricate work, like that's a different type of carpenter in my head. Like I am not good at that. It was very fun to try. I have a whole new respect for people who can do that. But like even talking to Bill and I showed him at the end, he was like, "Yeah, that's a pretty simple stair." And I'm like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me?"
What felt worse, that or getting cut from the Cardinals?
I don't know. That one felt pretty bad, what Bill said. But, you know, if you do it.
Bill definitely did it just like after talking to him, it's like, you know, he did it just to bust you.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll never admit it. He'll be like, you know, he said
but
the
it's
same
crazy.
thing.
Like, how many of your hours were spent learning on that versus actually on the tools, you know? Even like when you're on the job, it's like, it's going to take you 25 minutes to make one decision where somebody who does that day in and day out is just like, "Oh yeah, let's do this."
Right.
Where it's just so much of your time is just spent figuring and learning and second guessing, where you have to eat, sleep, breathe that stuff to be able to do it efficiently. Like your second one, maybe a little bit faster, probably not that much faster. And then it's not going to be until like you've done that enough that those principles are kind of stuck in your head and it's more second nature.
Yeah, and I remember like Bill really helped me out with like the layout. That like was the most crucial piece of this. Mm-hmm. And I completely get the math, but if I were to do that exact same staircase, I would do it faster. Mm-hmm. But you're not going to have one exactly like that. So it's just a whole nother thing. And the learning aspect is fun to learn how to do something else, but it gets to a point that it's definitely worth it to get people who do it every day just because they're so much faster.
That's like I had Sean Bennett. He lives up in Brewster and Cape Cod, and he had a small curved staircase that in P-Town that he brought Matt Kennedy in to help him with. I think it's Instagram's Technical Stairhead. Yep. But he was like, "Yeah, so I'm doing this," and basically they built a staircase, and I'm pretty sure they built the handrail. They got inspections and then pulled it and put the one in that the customer wanted. So they built like 2 curved handrails because the one that she wanted wouldn't pass inspection. But he's like, yeah, so I would be completely hung up on something, and Matt would just be like, oh, no, that's super simple. You just, like, do it like this, and then that's what gives you your answer here. And he's like, yeah, that makes sense with you here showing me that right. and, like, telling me that, but that's not super simple. And, like, me figuring that out on my own would take me so long. And it's just like his brain just works in a different way, and he, you understand that. And I think that so much of it is being able to visualize that end result. And if you haven't done it before, visualizing that is so difficult.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nick.
No, I was just gonna say we've worked with Matt before, and I remember him being on the job, and it's like I think he looks up, and he just like thinks about what the handrail does. He's like, yeah, give me like an hour, and I'll measure this, and I'll be able to build it off site. And but he explains it, and you can follow along what he's explaining, but they have no understanding of where he's getting that from.
Yeah.
Like what is he referencing? And
as soon as he leaves, like, what are you talking about?
Right. And it's like, I remember Tom was the lead on that job. He's not with us anymore, but he, I was like, that stuff just going to show up?
He's still alive.
He's still alive, yes. He's in Montana, I think. But no, Wyoming. He's in Wyoming. But I remember being like, that stuff's just going to show up in pieces and fit? Like,
yeah.
Like how?
Yeah, didn't you say just like measure it with a tape measure?
Well, yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't even remember how he measured it, but it was like he spent a couple hours measuring just the stairs, and it wasn't
like he like templated it or anything.
No, no, not at all. And
I can't even get it right when I take like 6 measurements in my office and go out to my shop and cut it. There's gonna be maybe 60% of them are right that it all works out.
I think
he's gonna build the whole stair.
I think he's gonna be on the podcast. I can't remember if he's already scheduled or if we chatted about it, but
I thought he said no.
I think he originally wasn't up for it, but I think we've coaxed him into it.
Just carpentry by Mar.
Yeah.
Well, he said no, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it validates.
Let's not put them in the same category.
No, yeah, but just to say, like, whoever priced that's there should have known from the beginning that the odds of you guys not breaking even's a good thing on that stair.
Yeah.
If they didn't realize that, then they shouldn't be pricing jobs. And then B, anyone else in your company to give you crap about losing money on that stair,
yeah,
let's see them step up.
Push them down it.
Yeah, you have it validated because you know what you put into it. I think that's what happens to a lot of us is that we know, like, whatever it is, if it's a kitchen remodel I do or whatever, that I know what it took to go into this job, and that whatever I price that is still a gift. It's a gimme. Like, for anyone else to go in here and execute at that level, like, there's just no way. You would have spent more money. If you would basically sub that project out to somebody else, the execution may have been maybe fractionally better, but they probably would have spent more money on it, right?
Yeah, it's at the end of the job, like, there was a metal railing, and it had a curved wood cap that I had no, like, that's way above me. And we actually got this company to come in, and they fabricated and installed that wood cap. And meeting that guy on site, he's like, yeah, why didn't you just call us up? And come to find out, like, they were a company fairly close that could have done it. And I start talking to him, like, how much would you have charged for the stair? And, like, I think they were a little bit, I was surprised how close it was.
Oh, really?
Like, from my hours and everything that I put in, I think they were still, or my hours, like, I was a little bit more, took more money to do, but, like, their timeline, they could have done it in a couple weeks, where it took me, I think, 2 months.
Yeah.
To do that. And luckily the homeowner didn't have, like, there wasn't a huge time crunch for it. Like, there was a back stairwell.
Just got him an extension ladder.
Yeah. When are you going to be done? Well, when I'm done, because this is...
You can't rush this.
Are you done yet?
Oh, my God.
The longer you're here, the longer it's going to take. No, that's insane. I don't think I would want to do that. I mean, it'd be cool if I was retired or like had the free mental space for that. But I feel like I would be so stressed with the amount of time that it was taking. Even if it was T&M, I'd be like,
I was just gonna say,
I can't charge them for that. I can't charge them for this. Like, I'm sitting here trying to figure this out for an hour and a half or ripping something out because it's wrong.
We went over this last week. You got to get over that.
I don't know.
We're all doing T&M. We put our
Tyler,
hands in together and said, let's go T&M.
No, I'm down for T&M on stuff.
You went right into T&M and you were like, this is awesome. I'm making boatloads of money.
Life-changing.
Dude, I'm down for it on stuff where, like, I feel that my rate is fair. But on something that I'm figuring out on the fly that's that complex, I feel
so
like...
don't bill for the hours you're reading the book.
Exactly. But then the whole time I'd be like, I could be making this much money somewhere else. I should be done this. Costs. It would have took one. Yeah.
Opportunity costs haunt me.
Yeah.
Haunt me because it's like, imagine if I got that phone call, or if I was freed up to even.
You guys are crazy.
Just take on something else, and
I also just think like the tooling on site versus the tooling in a shop, Casey, is that they're two different things.
Well, it's hard.
The space that you were working in.
Yeah. Do you remember? Like,
that was so tight.
It was 3.5 feet by, I don't know, 14 feet.
There's no one
so about the same size as you.
Yeah. Put the 300-pound guy in there.
Hey, I was a little bit less at the time. Okay, come on.
That's still a person.
Okay.
With one outlet. That was the.
Hopefully it was 20 amp.
Right.
down into the basement.
That's right.
Then you get like the treads in, and you don't want to mess up the treads, and you have your tools over, and you got to walk down and step on one and slip. I feel like those are the days too where you're in the middle of figuring something out, and like you see the clock, and it's getting to be the end of the day, and like all day long you can work neatly and put your tools back where they go when you're done with them, and then towards the end you're like a mad scientist, and just everything's everywhere, and it looks like Taz just came down the staircase.
Yeah, pretty much. It was especially being winter and trying to, like, the stuff that wouldn't fit inside, going outside, cutting it on sawhorses, going back in. It would be a lot. I think the job would have went a lot faster if had a little bit more space. But
other than stuff like that, what would you change about that job? Even from like an approach standpoint, like were there big learning? I'm sure there were a ton of them, but were there like big takeaways for you that looking back you're like, hey, that could have saved me, or I would have done this differently, or I'd be happier with the end result if it was this way?
Honestly, it would be like just having the tooling to do it in a shop, because like all those curved ends on those treads.
Yeah.
Like I did that with like really quick, or like template router and like my little rigid like combo spindle sander and belt sander that I had on site. And just having the space for it. But like I don't regret the way I built it, because I had no idea. Yeah. Like it was figuring out as you go. And
that's impressive for sure. I don't think I would have wanted to be in your position.
I had some people from stair companies like message me. It's like, whoa, that's a pretty intense stair to work on. And I was like, maybe I was just too dumb to be like, to accept it. Because I don't work on stairs that often. That was probably the 8th stair I've ever done. And it's just, I really do enjoy a challenge.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times that's kind of what makes us tick at the end of the day, where it's some of those jobs where you get to go through and not think too much and give you a little bit of mental leeway, but then every now and then it's like, yeah, I want something more. I want something really to tax me and make me think. And then, when you kind of complete that task or step back from that where it's like, holy crap, I did it. Maybe I wouldn't want to pick my tools up and start another one next week, but I got that one, that notch in my bedpost, so to speak.
Yeah, and it's I haven't been challenged like that since that job ended.
Yeah.
And you can only hang so many doors and stuff that definitely takes skill, but something that like really challenges you mentally. It's fun to do, not all day every day, but like every couple jobs.
Yep. How thrilled was your wife for you to wrap that one up? So I finally got him back.
You almost
it's just like
2 months without him mentally.
Yeah, he's checked out. Yeah, she was pretty happy. I remember she came with my daughter and like walking up the stairs. Like it was,
They walk up and they're like, "Hey, is one of those bigger than the others?"
Get out.
Yeah, don't talk to me.
Yep. They're within code.
It's funny because my wife, with her job, she'll take days off. Whenever she takes the days off, I'm like always asking her to bring the girls by the job, and I don't. Usually in the heat of the moment, I regret it because everything. I'm like, don't touch this.
Yeah.
They're like jumping on stuff. What's this? Can I touch this? Can I use the saw? And usually in the middle of the day, it's tough to stop and kind of take that all in. But I have some of the fondest memories looking back where like the girls came out and saw what I did or walked in, and Tilly always, I feel like she's just trying to butter you up. She'll give you compliments. She's like, "Oh my God, Daddy, it looks so pretty." And I'm like, "You don't even know what you're talking about," but you're like,
I like
that,
it.
Yeah. Like having your kids walk onto the job site and see what you do though, and especially if they were there from the beginning where they saw, they're coming once every few weeks, and like when they show up the last time they saw it, it was just studs, and now it's a room, and you can like see that sense of amazement on their face, and there's not that much better than that.
No, and especially like my daughter Genevieve, it's funny, like, "Daddy, you did this?"
Yeah.
Like, yes, I did. So excited.
They know what to say.
Yep.
I keep telling my wife I'm kind of a big deal. I keep proving it. Like every house, like, see this?
Yeah.
Kind of a big deal. What I do is kind of a big deal. She doesn't agree with me yet, but I keep trying.
So how about, I feel like every time that I see you working, your approach and kind of your organization, it's soothing for me, personality type. It's nice to see like a well thought out job site, job space, tools. It seems that you have a pretty efficient setup. Is that by necessity? Is that something that you enjoy doing? Is that something that you kind of integrate into your entire life? Like, for example, my truck, my job site, all super neat. You go up in my closet, it looks like a bomb went off, and I'm okay with that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like our house, 2 kids, like it gets messy, but usually my truck is pretty clean. I'm at the job site at least 8+ hours a day. It's nice to be clean, nice to be organized. It just makes work so much better. I mean, Work is when I can unplug. I don't have anything else to think about. COVID, like, stress with young kids, like, it doesn't matter. I can shut my brain off and just go to work. And the organization side of it is just fun for me to try and come up with new systems. Like, I buy way too many tools.
Yeah.
It's just fun. Like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So why not invest as much, mainly time, but also a lot of money into making work fun.
Yeah. And go ahead, Nick.
Well, I was gonna bring this back to my original question, which we derailed from, but as a carpenter, like you just said that you want to do this for the rest of your life, but we opened up this conversation where the longer you do this, the more stressful it becomes. And obviously, looking back at the previous year, the stress levels have been increased. But your original comment of the longer I do this, the more stressful it becomes. I want to unpack that a little bit, especially from a carpenter's side, where, obviously last week we talked about this and stress, and we're, as owners and things like that. But what are the things leading to, your day-to-day stress, and why do you feel as though they're increasing with time?
Well, it's just like the more I learn is the more I realize that I just don't know. Like, there are so many things that I just don't know. And like the making sure like materials are compatible. Like, is this, there's so many things, but like, it's just very stressful. Like, I take a lot of pride in my work, and if something falls apart, breaks, cracks, like whatever, like I take a lot of pride in that. And it gets stressful because I try and do as much research as I can, but I put a lot of pressure on, like, to get it as close to, perfect as I can. And if something goes wrong, like it does take a toll on me. It might just be a personality thing. I honestly can't help it, but yeah, each job, and I think Tyler has said it in the podcast before, but like each job that I do, I feel like I get slower.
Yeah. Because
there are just so many details that when I started off, that I want to improve, that like, everyone sees things differently. Like what I think looks good versus what somebody else looks good. But like, there are so many things that I feel like I can just do better or faster or more efficiently. And it just kind of, that's kind of the fun of it, but it also is kind of stressful just to try and stay ahead. Like, especially like with all the stuff, like building science wise. And I know enough to be dangerous. Like, I know enough to ask questions, but like that side of it, like you're remodeling a home, and am I doing something that's going to cause damage?
Right.
Yeah.
To the rest of the house. Like, we do a lot of spray foam, I'm not a big fan, but that's what we do. And are we doing something that a couple of years down the road, like you just didn't know it? Like, it's just hard to.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
I think early on, like there's just so much stuff that you don't know in the beginning. And you can cruise because like all those little things that take so much time, you're not even thinking about, let alone trying to integrate, so like you could go back to those early jobs, and you can execute them at a very high level, much quicker that you'd be able to do back then. But like, you're not going back to those jobs, you're always moving forward. You're always integrating new details and new techniques and layout and planning and execution, and those things just take more time. And I feel like the more that you do, there's more headspace that you allocate towards integrating those details, or I'm going to do that on the next job, or trying to get it right. And I think that's what ends up slowing you down. It's just the bathroom. When I first started, they took 2 weeks. Now they take 6 weeks, and it's like, how? I should be getting way fast. It should be taking me like 2 days at this point. And it's just that you start integrating you start using better products. You start using processes that yield better results, but typically better results mean there's more labor involved with that. It's not just better and faster because somebody invented a miracle product. Like, it's usually better because there's techniques that you've integrated, and there's materials that you've integrated, and you've taken the time to make that job turn out better. But that definitely takes time and energy.
Oh yeah. And then like now I can look at a set of prints, and let's say I'm going to trim a house, like you can look at it and be like, well, that's not going to look good. like, how is this going to time out? Like, you can just see it in your head, and it just does. It takes longer.
Yeah.
But that's it may take longer, but at the end of the day, like, you're just, each day you're getting better and better, and it's fun to see the progression, like from when I first started off till now, how much more efficiently I've become, and just all the things that have changed.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, even as something as simple as building a cabinet, where I look back at my first house and I put in cabinets kind of flanking an existing fireplace that I made maybe out of pine 1x and some NDF boxes, and like there was a brick fireplace that I just polyurethaned MDF onto and then trimmed with more MDF, and it took no time at all. It was I look at that now and I'm like, that job would take me 8-10 times longer than that did, because I was just like nailing trim onto the front of the shelves, and it's apples to oranges, and I think that's a lot of what we run into on a daily basis. But it's funny how everything progresses and you start integrating these things and nicer details. Some people don't, but it's crazy to see that. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to get the hell out of my old house, because it was like all of my early learning experiences that I had to live in, and I'm like, oh my God, as Nick's panning his computer to show what he did. But it's like it haunts you, where I walk into the room, I'm like, I can't believe that I laid that wainscoting out that way. I'm like, I would never do that now. No, I don't want to rip it out. Let's just sell it to somebody else who loves it.
Exactly.
That's why I haven't started finishing my house.
Still waiting to dial it in.
Yeah.
Smart.
Perfect it.
Smart.
Well, that's why every time I go back to like my parents' house, like that was the test house. They let me do cabinets, trim, like flooring, like everything. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to go back because I look at stuff and I'm like, oh my God, that is.
They probably love it though.
Oh yeah, because I was free labor. Like there's.
You know what's really tough about that is, just to segue it a little bit, so it's part of my life now, is that when you're trying to educate someone on what's going on, it's so easy to get someone's head spinning.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, you got to do this. By the way, don't forget about this. And then you text them on your way out, be like, don't forget about this could happen. And then like 2 minutes later, they call you and be like, I don't even know what
I was set up, and now I'm not.
So you almost realize it in hindsight that as you, Tyler, pick up all those little things that that you've done in the past, trying to deliver those to somebody at one time so they actually can absorb it is really difficult. To be like, all right, give it a little bit, and then maybe I should circle back for the next flaw that could happen, instead of just saying, look out for these 10 things. Then they'll just never do it.
Dude, like, I remember one time when Ryan first started working for me, we had pre-assembled some window and door casing, and we're going to install it, and I was kind of rushing it, so I wasn't looking to nail off. Like, I was nailing to the jamb, but then waiting to nail off into our jack studs to not pop the miters. And I'm like, all right, this is how I would nail this off. And I, like, do it live, and I'm just basically articulating what's going on in my head as I'm doing this. And like, as the trim bends a certain way, I'm like, then I'm going to place this nail here next, but I don't want it too close to this, and I don't want it to split this trim, and then I want to match the nails up, and then like the drywall's proud here, so I want to pull it, and I'm like, dude, you're not going to follow any of this. I'm like, just nail it to the jam, we'll finish off tomorrow. But there's just so much where, like, yeah, it's just nailing off trim and casing, but where, like, you can avoid caulk joints, or you can fix it so it looks this way or that way, or you don't pop your miter, or, like, shim the back of it here, and then I can float. And it's like, I'm completely overwhelming you. I don't know. But there's got to be a better way or better person to teach you this stuff.
That's hard, though. I mean, by the time you try and tell them everything that's in your head, you're like, it could be done already.
Exactly. And you probably didn't retain anything that I told you. You got nothing from that. Where it's just more so like maybe just pop the miter open, and then when I freak out at you, you can fix it, and you'll learn a lesson and never do it again.
But before even just you freaking out is letting them do it to see the miter pop.
Yeah.
Like they'll absorb that. I think for me, I see it a lot with some of my guys, but more importantly when I coach hockey. And I'm like, do this drill. Do you know if you curl your hands? And I look at the kids and they're like, they have no idea what that means. And I'm like, it's so many times where I'm like, I just got to dilute this. Like this, I'm way over their head still.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one kid gets it, but I think for me it's both. It's trying to give them the stuff that really counts, but then also to Nick's point, I've said it in the past is, give them a leash long enough that they can choke themselves, but not enough that they're running loose.
Yeah.
So it's they can still screw up, see what that impacted, and go, all right, I have to trust them. It's the same for me for coaching. Is like when you tell someone to be in a certain spot, then the puck comes right to them. Now they're like, I'm all in. I get it now. I understand it. So you have to let that person screw up a little bit to understand that impact, and then drive home your point. You get me? It's like, hey, give a couple points. This is why you have to do this. Then they don't do it. They screw up a little bit. Nothing that's gonna kill the budget, but then. Now they're going to reinforce the fact that they want to get your guidance.
Yeah, I think it. Sometimes I wonder, like when we had, what's his name, Jeff Harvey.
Yeah.
Where like he has everyone hand nail stuff, and sometimes I think about that even from like a trim perspective, where if you were going to be nailing off door casing and you didn't have clamps and a biscuit joiner and all of these fancy tools, where would your first nail be placed? Or if you had to nail off crown molding or an outside corner without clamps and everything else, how would you go about doing that? And I think that from like a teachability standpoint and from like a practical approach, where you slow it down enough that you don't. I don't have a high-powered nail gun that can shoot a nail into something and the wood doesn't move when you shoot it, so it stays still. Like, if you had to hand drive a nail into that, where would your first nail be?
Right.
And I think that, like, that would be more helpful than me, like, just nail this door casing off by hand. And I feel like you would retain that more so than me going through all of these crazy details where you're going to put this here, then you're going to back shim this, and then, put this putty knife in here and just give it a little back pressure before you nail it so it doesn't, figure it out without a nail gun, and then you can kind of take those principles and then use a nail gun.
It's like saying, hey, watch out for the smiley faces. Yeah, and they'll be like, what do you mean? And then they start hammering away, and they're like, oh, that's what it means. I'm with you. It's really tough.
Well, I think the painters are going to love you because they're going to get, after like 8-10 nails, be like, all right, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I think the door casing's on.
For sure.
Well, I think that's true that, Tyler, to your point, I think I found that, because my boss was like that. He had his hand nail at everything. And I found that the only way I knew how to do stuff that really meant something is taking it apart first. In a historic renovation, you'd find out where nails really held and where they didn't, and then where they had a nail where you didn't know. You're like, why isn't this coming off? And it's like that nail is in that one spot that really held it tight, and you're like, all right, so then when it's my turn to put it in, I'm doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. It's like, how did they get the nail there? It's like, what was the process in which they took? Because that doesn't seem achievable the way I'm going about this.
My nail gun won't fit.
Right.
It basically hits the plaster. I have to remove something to get to it. It's like, all right, maybe it's by hand. Maybe I have to, and they'll appreciate it more. I remember when I did a roof, he would argue with me that, you can't feel the roof with a nail gun. Mm-hmm. Meaning when the gap in the sheathing's there, you don't know when it's blasted through and it's hitting nothing. Like I drive around now and I see these shingles that are sliding down like 3 courses just in the middle of the roof. You're like, oh, I know, he was right. It's like even today I do that. But I have a roofing hammer in my garage. It's still hanging there with a little hatchet in the back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like I used to have a different hammer for almost everything back in the day, but it gave you a whole new appreciation. So when you did use that gun, Tyler, you were still putting it in all those same spots that meant something. And then knowing that back in the day, we used to do our own prep and paint. So it was like, all right, I don't need to, Machine Gun Kelly this piece of trim and just riddle it with nails because I got to fill that crap. So it's in that being specialized, that whole appreciation dies. It's like not my problem.
You lose it.
It's like whatever, that guy will catch on to it.
I'm going to have a little humility here. What is the hatchet for on the roofing hand?
I think it was for shingles back in the day. We're doing splitting shingles for different sizes.
Slate?
Or
shake.
Or
wood?
Yeah. I feel like also like chopping out flashings and stuff like that.
It's even got a wider head so you could like use lead. We used to use lead all the time. That's why I'm a little kooky. Is that you basically shape it.
That's why you're kooky.
Yeah,
for the record, everyone, John's kooky because of lead.
I still use it today. I flash every door with lead still.
Yeah.
So you can bend it up on the other side.
That's why you're a little kooky. Okay.
The only reason.
That's it.
That's our opener right there.
We
find out why John is kooky.
And everyone's like, oh, shutting this one off. No need to know that.
Oh, I feel like I just lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
I've been writing stuff
that?
down.
What were we talking about before
What do you got
that?
on your list, John? I always like to know.
Dude, Tyler wanted Casey on this podcast, and then it wasn't happening. And I love when Tyler goes on a run where it's so many podcasts. There was like a year with podcasts where Tyler didn't say a word.
Yeah, that's
those
true.
were bummer podcasts. And now it's like, get a good guest on that clicks with Tyler. And so many people ask us about woodworking and like getting in the sawdust and getting out of the management talk, getting out of the ownership talk, chasing money. That's what this one is, man. Drill down.
Yeah, I feel like that is, especially with you. Like, I don't, and that's not to discount anything that you're doing or say that it doesn't matter to you, but I feel like so many people who follow Casey or who watch Casey work, it's because of your carpentry technique, it's because of your approach, it's because of the cleanliness of your work. And it's one of those things that if you were to look at Casey's page or you see his work or his thought process, like, it's not typical of somebody who, like you said, is getting paid hourly. Like, totally. You're putting so much thought into that, and you're thinking of the end user, and you're thinking, like, I've heard you multiple times, like the painters are going to come in and prime, and then coming in and being like, oh, it's primed, look how good it looks. Where, like, most carpenters, the only time that they're referring to the painters is like, oh, painters will fix that. Where, like, you're setting them up to come into your jobs. Like, have you met the painters that come and follow you up?
Yeah, they love pretty
you.
Pretty much every job. Yeah, they. I try to make it as easy as I can for every sub. I don't care, plumbers, electricians. Like, it just, you don't want to screw the next guy over. So, like, I don't want to blast 50 nails into trim just to get it tight for the painter to have to fill all those holes. It's just try and be good for the next guy, and hopefully that comes back to you.
So your personal shop at home that's in your garage?
Yep.
What is that stuff that you're doing work for work in, or is that hobby woodworking? Is that just kind of always been a dream of yours, combination of all of them?
Combination. I've been doing more and more like terra firma work in my garage, but like my wife and we do a lot of like slow flips. Like, it takes me years, but I don't know. I just like having a shop. I like having tools that I can.
I'm laughing because I'm like, I'm living in one. Is that what you mean? Like,
slow flip.
I've been doing the same thing. My last one was 11 years. Sorry.
No, it's
awesome.
Yeah, it's just fun. Like, ideally, I'd love to have more time in the shop to do more things like for work, like built-ins and stuff like that. But yeah, anytime I get out here, it's fun.
So how big's your garage?
It is like 19 by 25.
That's tight.
It's not
for you.
I mean, he's organized.
Hey, come on now.
True.
You can't even lay down in there.
Well, at least the ceilings are 9.5 feet, so right. That's a plus.
So you only have to duck a little.
Them, but
yes, I can.
So what's the end goal with the shop? Something bigger eventually. This you're just kind of making do with what you have right now. I feel like, so I look and I even see your shop, and it's like, how could I integrate things that he has into a small space? Because I feel like so many people have shops, or they're running out of a garage and they don't have the funds, they don't have the ability, they're not in a position to have this like full-blown separate shop space that they'd still like that. Like eventually, do you want something bigger? I feel like you make do with what you have, and it always seems like it's all well thought out, but like then I turn to myself and I'm like, I'm gonna put this much effort into this space, and then I'm going to outgrow it, and then I'm going to have to come up with an entire new layout, an entire new floor plan, and it's like, oh, I don't know. It's so overwhelming to make the first move that it's like I'm paralyzed even thinking about doing anything.
Yeah. Ideally, like from last week's podcast, you were saying like you found New York, that like 250 acres. Like I don't need that many. Like I only want 3 ponds instead of 4.
Yeah, that's doable. Well, you're in Minnesota, man.
Yeah. But I'd love to, and that's kind of our next step is, having a few acres, having a big, big building. My wife keeps making fun of me because every house that we've owned, the garage has been my shop and no cars park in there.
That's what I was going to say. Like your wife, cars. You're in Minnesota. It's freezing.
I start her car every morning.
Does it snow a
lot? Usually, but this year it's been pretty mild.
It's like, and you have her garage taken up with your shop.
She says, what if it hails? And I was like, well, I can't move any of this stuff. So
my tools are safe.
Just pretend we don't have a garage. That's what you do.
Exactly.
I thought you were going to say that the garage is done first.
It was done first.
It's like,
it was.
Not the bathroom.
No, it was done first. Because, it's an excuse, but I'm like, Ellie, I need a space to do the work.
Yeah.
And,
my meditation
I need to be able to
spot.
stage everything.
Yep.
It's like, wait, we've never used that bandsaw for anything that we've ever done in our house, though. Why do we have that again?
They're like, hey, I made your drawer fronts for this kid's bathroom that I'm doing, so come on now.
All right. It's funny because I look at you and what you're doing, and you haven't lost that kind of lust for the carpentry and for the sawdust, like John was saying. And, like I think to myself how nice it would be to fit a little space out and have it organized and have the tools that I want and be able to kind of reinvest in those things. And I haven't positioned myself to be able to do so, or I've created a lifestyle that's so hectic that I don't have time to do that. And that's not saying that you have more time than me or your life's any less complicated, but it's super nice to see that you haven't lost that kind of flame and why you got into this, because I think so many people that we talk to, they get burnt out on what we're doing, and you haven't gotten there. You've established and created a lifestyle for yourself, for your wife, for your family, that like your passion, you're still able to live every day, and you're not losing sight of why you got into this. You got into this for woodworking. You got into this to be a carpenter, and that's still like, dude, like you set up to do your podcast and you got your shop in it because like it's something that you're super proud of, and it's like that's your thing, and you're making a life of it, and you're supporting the family with it, and you're still really passionate about it. And it's just it's nice to see, because I feel like we oftentimes just complicate things so much that the reason we got into this becomes one of the last reasons that we're doing this. Like it just gets pushed way to the back burner, and there's other things that seem to be more important than the love for the sawdust.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, honestly, the only reason that I'm out here is because it's the only room in the house that like you're not going to hear my kids screaming.
That's all right.
And that actually has lights. Like my house is 70s, like 1972. And when we moved in, like there were no overhead lights. Everything was switched outlets. So like the lighting is just terrible. So this was, the only space to actually, have a somewhat relaxing time trying to do this podcast. But I still I still love it. Like I could work all day, and I still like to tinker every night if I could. But with having kids now, I mean, that's way less. I'm lucky if I get a couple hours a week, after work, and weekends are shot. So I still love it. Like I hear you guys talk, like what's your hobby? Like Tyler, even, riding bikes.
Yeah.
Did they have bikes big enough to fit me? I don't know.
Probably.
It's like a 500, right?
Oh, four-wheelers, yes. Yeah, you need a gator. It's like, okay.
Yeah. A six-wheeler.
You just be trucking along.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess I actually do enjoy working out, but I don't have a hobby like that is something different than sawdust.
Yeah.
I can't help it. I mean, I don't.
It's just it's good to see that, because I feel like so many people who get into this end up going down a path that they have to do anything and everything to basically sustain this life of carpentry, and it takes them away from carpentry. It takes them away from what they're wanting to do. You get into business. I want to be a carpenter. I want to be a cabinet maker. Then you start hiring people. And then, you want a full shop, and then you have overhead, and then you need to sell this amount of jobs. And, before you know it, you're not doing anything like what you got into this for. And you're not doing anything that necessarily makes you happy. And you have these financial handcuffs on, where it's like, well, I can't really go back right now because I can't sustain the lifestyle that we have, and the 2 kids, and the wife's still working. And you're doing it. You haven't put yourself in a position that takes you away from what you enjoy and what you love. And I think that that's few and far between for people in our industry.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see how long it lasts.
Yeah.
Maybe in 5-10 years, I won't have any desire to do anything beyond work, like coming out in here in the garage. But I hope not. I mean, ever since high school, I really like the woodworking, and as a hobby, it's just fun to. I mean, that's a whole different side. The precision on that. It's fun to learn something new.
So what in your shop space, I know you were pretty pumped. I feel like you got maybe a joiner last year that you were really pumped about. What's your favorite equipment that you've picked up lately?
Well, last year I just picked up a 20-inch planer. Sold my DeWalt little lunchbox planer.
Yeah.
And that thing is with a helical head on it. It's really nice.
And is that, I know you like a lot of Powermatic stuff. Is that Powermatic too?
No, not this one. I know. I went
shop.
Yeah, I talked to guys, so many people on Instagram that like Powermatic and Grizzly. I mean, they both come out of the same factory, different tolerances, but went with the Grizzly, and I love it. If I were to use it all day, every day, maybe I would have gone Powermatic, but yeah. I have nothing but good things to say about it.
What and that's something you just picked up new?
Yeah, late last year, picked that up.
Yeah, I feel like I saw your joiner last year, and I was like, that thing's so nice.
Yeah, if only I could bring that to job sites, but it weighs like 500 pounds.
Yeah, seriously.
You got that.
Oh yeah, just strap that.
Yeah.
Make sure I stretch. It's all good.
How about on site? What I know you're like somewhat of a tool junkie. What are your favorite tools that you're using almost on a daily basis?
Oh goodness.
Things that either make your life easier, or you feel like you couldn't live without.
I don't know, those clamps, they got to rank up there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's takes the, you know, you can cut your miters at 45, clamp it, wait the next day. I don't care if your opening's out of, you know, you can squeeze that casing and like your miters aren't going to break. I mean, it makes your life a whole lot easier. But as far as tools, I don't know. I like them all. Routers.
I like them all.
I don't think I can pick one. You
go to bed with all of them. What type of miter saw do you use?
I've got a Capex.
And that's what you use primarily?
Yeah, that's what I usually use.
Everyone answers that the same way. It's like, I got a Capex.
I love my Capex, knock on wood. I know a lot of people knock it. Like
a lot of people, I mean, I guess the newer ones are supposed to be are apparently underpowered, or there was a generation that they were underpowered, and we've had a couple issues with them. But it's
some guy was running on like a 70-foot extension cord.
Yeah,
I guess
it
that
bogged.
Right.
I mean, they're not a super powerful saw.
Yeah, that
no,
cord
but they're
was
not
for, like,
designed
Christmas
to.
lights.
No.
You know, they're designed to be trim saws, but it's like we had two that burnt out like back to back, but you send them back to Festool, they're back in less than 2 weeks and they're fine. So I feel like that's what you pay for when it comes to the Festool. It's funny, Tyler. You to jump in here for a moment. You talk about tools that you can't live without, or like especially when it comes to new tools and buying tools, becoming a tool junkie. My guys, and I forget what it's called, but it's a Mafel track saw, but it puts a dado. It's like a dado track saw or something like that. And every time I'll casually bring up like, hey, are there any tools that we need to think about buying this year? And it always comes up. I'm like, for what? Like what? One guy had it on our job site one day, and you used it for a very specific task, and it saved the day for that. But how often are you doing that? You're like, what if it happens again?
That's a tough one. It's probably so expensive too.
Of course, it's a Mafel. It's gonna be.
I could hear one of you guys go, "But Nick, if Puff does a video of it, it'll really catch fire." What do you say?
That'll definitely be another 500,000 views, man.
Okay, I'll buy it.
Okay, bye.
So, Casey, what's your budget yearly for tools?
No, his wife listens to this.
Oh yeah, I'll tell her to tune out this part. Gosh, I mean, for the company, like we get a tool allowance every year. Production guys and lead carpenters get so much money. But yeah,
that just go into your paycheck?
No, like for a lead carpenter, I get $800 a year to spend on tools.
Nick was like a month.
Yeah.
See his head pop over.
I was waiting.
Day.
What?
I was gonna ask Nick, like, what did it look like on your end
for like tools?
Yeah.
So
with the guys.
Guys are responsible for their belt and anything they wear, and their cordless platform. But I'll buy everything else.
I used to wear everything. Oh, I used to have everything hanging off my
I'd be wearing my miter saw. Like, oh, sorry, Nick.
No, that means you're responsible
walk in with the Capex hanging off me.
That means you're
Nick
buying
said he'd buy it if we wear it.
No. You got it backwards. If you wear it, you own it.
Okay, never mind then.
So you own everything in your belt and
bags,
a cordless platform, specialty tools, and everything else we provide.
Are you guys hiring? Because that sounds really nice.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you have a co-op?
Always.
I can consider it.
It's
funny.
Take
actually,
whatever
today
you
I got
put
a
into
text
your
from
company, pull it out, and give it to Nick.
I got a text from one of my leads today. They're like, "Hey, do you mind if I grab a table saw tonight?" I'm like, "Do we not have one?" I'm like, "I'm fairly certain last year we bought 4." And he's like, "Oh, I wasn't sure. I haven't." And I'm like, "We gotta like." So I sent the text around, and it's like they're all like, "No, I think they're all spoken for." I'm like, "Where the f did that 4th table saw go?" And so
they were in the trailer.
Probably, yeah. But
it's just amazing to me that they don't look.
Well, I mean, to be fair to him, he's new to the company, and we're setting him up. But It is. It's like, but I also have been talking since I started hiring people about inventorying all the tools, so I know what I have.
Yeah.
Because I literally have no. I'll go on a job, so I'm like, oh, that's nice. When did we get that? And they're like, that's mine. It's like, oh, is this yours? No, you bought this last week. I'm like, what the heck? Like, I can't keep, like, I don't know what we own and what we don't. Like, I approve it. It's not like they're just buying stuff willy-nilly, but it's still, it's like, it would be nice to have a nice running list. Why are we on this? Why are we talking about my tools? We're talking
I don't
about
know. It's kind of fun. I was going to ask you what table saws you guys, are you using the
DeWalt's.
Yeah.
The fold-up one?
The what?
The fold-up?
Yeah.
I use like the smallest.
I think, no, I don't think it's the smallest. I think it's like the one step up.
Yeah.
If you said the number, I feel like I would remember.
Is it 745?
I was going to say, yeah, I know it's 740 something. We had the saw stop. I liked the dust collection on it, but the guys hated it.
How come?
The fence was never. The fence has like a lot of play in it. It's big, it's bulky, it's heavy.
Yeah.
So I love the safety of it, of course, but
it'd be fine for Casey.
Huh?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said it'd
Strap
be fine
it
for
on
Casey.
his back.
Yeah.
What table saw do you have for a job site saw, Casey?
Just that same DeWalt at 745.
And that fits in your stand?
Yeah, that table saw stand works.
Whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, roast. Yeah. Yep.
Is that stand specific for that? So I have the smaller DeWalt's. Like basically, it's the $300 one that you can get everywhere.
Yep.
And I wonder if that would fit the one that you have.
So I bought the black metal stand.
Yeah,
they should.
It should. Yeah.
Because I bought that stand, and that's like that stand. I think is like $300 more than the saw that I have in it. So the stand was like $600 or something with the outfeed table.
Oh,
and then
I'm thinking of a different stand.
The DeWalt saw that I use is like $300, and I actually bought a second DeWalt saw like 5 years into business because I'm like, oh man, if this is like it says it's saw specific, I'm sure that you could get other saws to fit in there. But I was like, I don't want this saw to get discontinued and then be stuck with this expensive stand. So I bought another of the same table saw, and I put it up on like a shelf in my shop, and I moved it from my old house to the new house, and it's still up there. Like if I break a part on my old saw, I'll pull it off that one and then order a new one. But I'm still, knock on wood, since I went into business, I'm still using the same $300 like crappy DeWalt table saw.
That doesn't surprise me.
I just can't kill
Well, the thing
it.
is, as long as the crank doesn't break.
Dude, that's what happens.
Yeah.
I broke the handle on it once, but like you just have to clean it out, and then you're not supposed to oil that stuff because sawdust sticks to it, but it's like past the point of no return that I just have to keep it oiled.
Yeah.
Nick, it's June 15th, 2020 on Casey's post.
What am I looking at?
Stand.
Sorry,
you were, yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, if this goes out, and I just haven't been able to kill that table saw. I love that table saw.
I mean, that stand, it is expensive. I think at the time I paid $550 for it.
Yeah.
And every time I post something and that stand is in the picture, it's like, what is that? Where do you get it? What's that called? And
okay, yeah.
What stand do you have for your Capex? Do you have the did you build one?
Looks like it's on a DeWalt stand.
Yeah, little DeWalt, just little stand. I made wings for it. It works well enough.
Yeah. It's funny because before I got my Capex, I used to use my table saw stand like for doing trim work. I wasn't breaking down cheat goods and stuff on that. But I'd have the table saw on the outfeed, and then I would turn basically my miter saw, and I'd put it on like if you're facing the table saw to the right of it.
Oh yeah.
And then I would turn it perpendicular, and then I had like legs that I built for my saw so that I could basically have like my table saw and my miter saw in that one footprint and be able to work on that. And then I got the Capex and got the stand for that, so I don't do that anymore. But I like oftentimes feel like I should go back to that setup, because as long as you're not breaking down anything super wide, like it fits on that side so nicely. And I feel like everything just gets dumped on that side of the stand if there's nothing there, where it's like, yo, this isn't a work table. Stop putting the glue there. Stop putting like the screw guns there.
That's a horizontal surface, Tyler.
Exactly. It's crazy. Like, why are you putting stuff there? It's the saw. It's not a table. Get this crap out of here.
No, I think the hardest thing for me is like I work out of a pickup truck.
Yeah.
And trying to fit all the tools. Like, I would love to have a van someday, but
we provide vans too. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Some guy last week texted me, "Can I get a new van?" We had 5 vans. Where did the 5th van go? At least he asked. Yeah,
just get a van. Yeah, get one. I need at least, I want to be able to stand up.
I was gonna say I'll even get you a high roof.
Do they make it? I thought it like caps out at like 78 inches.
No, the high roof is taller than that, I think. We'll make a custom one. We'll get a pop-up. Like the VW bus.
Employees. Whatever you want. I'll have a custom one made.
Just cut your legs. Just cut your legs down.
Oh gosh.
Easier.
Well,
it looks like he's
my
looking
legs
at
are
a list
pretty
of
short.
demands. He's like looking. He's like, what else was I supposed to ask for?
Yeah, I just got to go in and tell my wife we're gonna move. So
did you ever give me your budget for tools? Or did Nick hijack the conversation?
No, it was 800 for the company. We never did personal because his wife listens to it.
I probably have.
No, yeah, it depends on the year.
This is great.
But it's it's thousands. I mean, it's I don't know.
Do you bundle it? Do you go like, hey, babe, no Christmas, no birthday, no anniversary gifts. I'm just gonna buy this tool.
And you don't have a say in the matter.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Maybe
you're letting her off the hook so she doesn't have to buy anything for those other days. Maybe
I try and like cook dinner and like try and just sneak it in. Like, so there's a sale, Black Friday. I couldn't pass it up. No, she knows. It's pretty apparent.
You have meetings you go to?
No meetings yet. But I don't like, Frank at Carpenter 1-3. I mean, he's got like 8 or 9 miter saws. I've only got like 3, so I think I'm fine.
Yeah, you don't have a problem.
I don't have a problem yet.
If you had 8 or 9 miter saws, you would you just set them up and weld them in place. Like you don't ever have to adjust them. It's like that's my 45. That's my 22.5.
Yeah.
Matt, every angle you set.
This one's 31.6. Just in case.
That or you hire an octopus that can use them all at once.
I just looked it up. That saw I was talking about is the Mafel MF26 multi-cutter.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I mean, it would.
Crazy, yeah.
It if you think about it from a principle standpoint, and you're trying to dado stuff, it's the same somewhat principle of like rather than bringing entire sheet up to a saw to cut your dados, you're
100%.
kind of bringing but like. Yeah. I don't know. I think the track saws are good and they have a place and they're definitely very useful. But, for like shop work, breaking stuff down, like a table saw is going to be far more accurate, far more repeatable.
It's $2,800.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The old
I'll
Nick
come chisel that by hand.
The old Nick would have reached out to that company and be like, yo, so we're doing a promotion. We'll offer to show off your saw.
I'd literally.
If I buy 3 of them,
a project for it.
I mean, you can always find something for it, but it's like
you can do like you can set up for wallboard folding.
Yeah,
you can make angle grooves and wallboard for precise 45 and 90 degree folding.
Yeah, you always use corner bead. Who would not?
These guys use it for drywall.
Yeah, but who would not use a corner on drywall? It would just smash.
Canadians.
You know what I mean? You can't not put a corner bead on.
I'm gonna get so many DMs.
It would just, yeah, dude.
Sorry,
you're just asking for it, John.
I've actually heard 3 people recently say stuff about how John was talking crap on Kansas. Like I've had multiple people reach out to me, and then even the guys on the building science BS and beers that were going on later, he was like, "Yeah, I have to defend my home state of Kansas because of John."
Like, that's amazing.
Oops.
I say it now, and I feel like we're amongst friends, but then I forget that it's being recorded.
Yeah, Canadians.
I feel like last week we had a few times where we were like, "Oh, we're recording this."
Yeah,
it's like shoot.
That was a solid podcast, though.
Biggest download to date.
Really good.
That one was good. I've listened to that one twice already.
What?
Uh-oh.
Well, I missed stuff the first time around.
No, that's a super appreciated. I didn't know people listen to podcasts more than once.
Yeah, honestly, we get a bunch of DMs that people listen to them. That's why people have been DMing us about that after 100 podcasts, they're not loaded on the platform. So we have to find a way of...
I know.
We told them it's important.
Well, we're going to set up the website with that, but anyone that is listening, the one way you can get around that is if you download them. Rather than just stream them off iTunes. If you download them, they'll always be there.
I downloaded mine.
You should be able to download, and they'll always stay there.
But I think if you're still downloading, like at 155, it asks you if you want to continue doing it. I think it purges it.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Because I haven't been able to go back. But either way, we digress.
Sure.
I haven't looked back that far.
Casey, question for you is, you said that your mom pushed you into college. You got kids. That mentality's changed. What do you think? I know it's early, way early, but what's your view on it? Like college, you gonna push college as much as your mom did, or your parents?
No, they can do. If they want to go to college, great. If they don't, I completely understand it. I don't think college is for everyone, and I don't regret going, but if they don't want to go, I'm going to leave that up to them. But the main thing for me is at least they have a plan, and they're just like, they're done with high school, and then they're just like going to do nothing for
TikTok
a couple years.
Superstars, whatever it is.
Yeah, maybe YouTube's still around, and they can be YouTube stars or whatever the heck's going on. I don't know.
So weird. That whole thing is so weird to me.
Well, I've got cousins or nieces and nephews that they're like 7 and 10 that they just watch YouTube, just random stuff on YouTube. And it's like the guy makes a kid makes millions of dollars a year.
Dude, tell me you're talking about Ryan.
And I'm sure it is.
Oh my God, my kids try and watch the show, and it's extremely low budget. It's very poorly filmed. It's painful to watch. It's the best way I can describe it. It's annoying. Like the whole time it's on, the dad's annoying, the mom's annoying, the kid's annoying, everyone in it. I can't sit in the room and watch it. I don't want them to watch it because it's just garbage. But every now and then where like we just want them off of our case, we'll be like, all right, you can watch Ryan. But I was like sitting on the couch the one day they're watching. I was like, yo, you guys have to turn this off. It's creating angst within me while this is on. And I go and I look it up, and it's like $130 million YouTube channel or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And like, you could tell that they have money. They bought like a new building to record all of it, but there's like boxes there, and it's all homemade crap. It's terrible.
Free stuff they're getting too,
dude. It's horrible.
I hate when I'm telling my kids to go to bed, and they're like, "No, I'm watching this," and I'm like, "All right, what are you watching?" And I lean over and look at it, and I'm like, "I want to smash your iPad over my knee." Like, what is that? You're telling me you need to finish that? You should never have started it.
I was on a job where the kids who lived there would sit there. She'd be on her iPad, and then on the TV, it would be playing. It was a YouTube channel of somebody playing a video game and narrating it. And she'd be on her iPad and then watching somebody play a video game on YouTube. I'm like, I don't even want my kids to sit inside and play video games, let alone sit inside and watch somebody else play a video game.
Yeah. I'm like, go play it. just go. No, I want to watch. I'm like, oh my God, are you cheating? Are you going to get some stuff out of this?
In one way, I'm like super pumped. I mean, I'm very happy that I have daughters for my own personal reasons. Like, but I think, you know, girls typically end up missing out on that entire video game thing, and I'm not that sad about that. I'll have a lot of other fun stuff to deal with. You have a son and a daughter, right, Casey?
Yeah. My son is almost 2 in April.
What's he like? 4 feet?
Well, he's off the charts, which is, you know, surprising.
He's Johnny's height.
He's going to be able to ride roller coasters next year.
How big? Was he a big baby?
Yeah, he was 913.
I was thinking like 12 pounds.
Oh my God.
What?
Well, Tyler, I was 11.3.
Yeah, dude. Like, I feel like that's what your kid would be like.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what I think when I think of big babies. I don't think of I just think of like
10.
big stature. And I feel like,
fat
you know,
shaming right now.
No.
Well, that same guy.
Let's clear this up.
Well, last thing on that, the same guy that was like 6'8", 420 plus pounds.
Yeah.
He was at the time the biggest baby ever born in Louisiana.
Really?
18 pounds.
No, 18.
Wow. 18
How?
pounds.
Is mom alive?
They just had to cut her from like the front to the back. Jesus.
He was 17 or 18 pounds, and I was just like.
And he was premature. Dude, that's insane.
What?
Yeah.
Hold on. The fact that you're saying that
that's
the biggest
3
baby
times the size
to
of my
date
kids
in Louisiana. Like that means there's bigger babies.
Well, I don't know. Like this was 10 years ago. Maybe there's 20-pound babies. I have no idea.
All right.
Jesus.
I'm looking this up.
Could you imagine? You couldn't even. Oh my God.
The heaviest baby ever born weighed a staggering 22 pounds.
Whew.
That's
Not
insane.
that far off from...
I mean, my mom had twins that were.
the mom was 7 foot 11 inches.
Jesus.
That's respectable.
Oh, and that was in
Yeah.
1879. How did that? That doesn't sound.
That's
My mom, my twin brothers were 6'6" and 7'1",
No, it's verified.
which is
got-
like
it's got a
a
blue
lot
check.
of baby.
Yeah, it's blue check.
Jeez.
That's insane. I can't imagine. There's a kid I grew up with. His name was Dave Higgins, and he was just
Yo,
like
Dave.
a huge. Yeah, I don't
Shout
even
out
know
to
if Dave's
Higgins.
alive anymore, to be honest.
Oh, sorry.
But he was just a huge human being, and he was like a 13-pound baby. It's like,
Did you have that conversation with him? Because I had a big kid I played hockey with in high school, Mike Cook. He went to BC and he went to college, and I think he got drafted. It was like the biggest kid on the team, and I was his partner, so it was like the shortest kid in the team. So we have like team pictures with just the two of us.
It's like that movie with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, twins or whatever.
But I never asked him like how big were you when you were born?
Yeah,
I need to do
dude.
better at asking those kind of questions. Tomorrow at work, I'm gonna talk to everybody.
How did you and Ellie meet? Casey?
Oh God, I was afraid of this question would pop up. Met in college, and it was a Wednesday night that we went downtown to drink, and she was down there with her friends, and then I was in a house with I lived with 8 other football guys at the time. We were like, yeah, let's go have some drinks. So we went downtown, and I saw her there, and one of my football friends knew them, and but didn't meet Ellie, didn't know about her. And I'll never forget, she was just she was wearing sweatpants, and she was watching.
This at South Dakota State.
Yep. She was she's probably gonna kill me for saying that, but she was she loved soccer, and she was watching the game, and she was on all the screens, and she was like, yeah, I wonder what the final score of this Manchester United versus Chelsea game. And I was like, I think Manchester won 3-2. And she's like, like I don't follow that, but I randomly knew that score from watching Sports Center early that day. And she's like, well, shit. I was like, okay, well, look yourself. And then it ended up being 3-2. But yeah, I don't know. I like I said before, I'm a pretty shy guy, but you get a few beers in me and I magically like open up and
14 beers.
It took a little bit more. It took a little bit more than that.
She had me at sweatpants.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It was. I'll just never forget it. And even the first date we went on, I ordered like a chicken. I didn't want her to see how much I would eat in a sitting, so I ordered a chicken sandwich and like a salad. And then we get done eating, and I just like, I think we ended it for the night, and then I had to go get something else to eat.
Starving still.
I was like, this is terrible.
I thought you preheated.
I can't do this.
Had a meal beforehand.
Yeah.
Yep. Like a little peanut butter and jelly sandwich in my pocket or something.
That's the worst when you first I'm like so far removed from that, but when you're dating somebody and there's like that you can't be yourself, there's just certain weird things that you like, I don't want to eat too much in front of them. I don't want to freaking fart in front of them, where it's like, oh God. Can you imagine if you're still like that? You're a liar.
Swear to God.
That's a terrible way to go about living your life.
Swear to God.
I feel so badly for you,
Donnie
man.
goes outside like every 15 minutes or something. I don't
Dropping bombs.
He's got like a funnel outside of his bed, a little hose.
No, you always see those commercials where it's like, those YouTube or whatever, where someone's like, the boyfriend leaves and he's recording. It's like, bye.
Yeah.
She leaves and then he just
shuts the
drops
door.
a bomb. That's what happens when like people go upstairs or she leaves for the day.
Yeah, she comes into your office during the podcast. That's why they just throw the food in the door and run out.
She'll send
that was Hunter.
Well, now it doesn't now it really wouldn't matter between the dog and the two boys.
Yeah.
The boys are just fart machines. It's like now I am like, dude, seriously? All the time. They're just maniacs.
My kids do that. Man. It's so funny.
I my
just
kids
feel like
think it's hilarious.
Dude, I'm 35 and I still find it funny when my kids fart and when I fart. Like
for a weekend.
I don't know if it ever stops.
Marley will fart at the dinner table. I'm like, and she'll be wearing a dress. I'm like, do you have underwear on? No. I'm like, you can. It's like reverberating on the wood chair.
It's so funny.
So Nick, how often does she wear a dress?
Oh my, every day.
Every day, like I pick up my kids from daycare every day, and the very first question is, "Can I wear a dress?"
Yeah, it's
every day. It's a dress.
We come home, like I'll get her dressed. We'll go out. She'll have like pants on, sweatshirt. Maybe she wears a dress or whatever. The moment we come home, she takes her shoes off, kicks them into the shoe thing, and she takes her pants off. I'm like, "What are you doing?" She goes like, I just want a dress on."
Yeah,
I'm
dress
like,
ups. That's what my girls call them.
Why can't you just have why can't you have pants on with the dress? No.
And then they start crying.
And then she'll walk around. She'll be like, "Actually, I'm gonna go upstairs and change." And she'll walk upstairs and she'll wear like 6 different dresses that day.
Yeah,
she's like this one, and she'll come downstairs. She goes, "What do you think of this one?" I'm like, swing back and forth. I'm like, "That one's great." She's like, "Yeah, I like this one."
You're in trouble.
The other day, Tilly had on
so
three dresses at once, and then she had to put on 3 headbands.
Oh,
because like she needed all of them, and I was like, "You look beautiful, very like understated beauty right now." And she'll like spin around.
Oh yeah,
like you're a friggin'.
Well, you got to spin. Yeah, Genevieve, if the dress doesn't spin with her,
it's not a good dress.
Not a good dress.
Yeah. No. That's like how you measure how good a dress is.
Meanwhile,
how fancy a dress is.
Reed is putting on like weird ass clothes. He hates when his sleeves they have to be pulled straight down. If I roll him up when he's eating, loses his mind. Loses his mind. And it's like I put a t-shirt on. He'll like try to prevent me from putting a jacket or a sweatshirt on. He's like, just this. I'm like, dude, we're going outside. It's freezing out.
Tilly,
your sweatshirt.
Tilly, when she was little, used to like her comfort thing was to have a binky and then like hold her belly button, and she couldn't sleep in a one piece. You know, they have the footy pajamas that zip up. Like, we'd have to zip her pajamas down, or else she would wake up in the middle of the night flipping out because she like couldn't get to her belly button.
That's amazing.
Oh gosh,
so funny. Yeah, I feel like kids ruin a lot of stuff, but they also make a lot of stuff good.
Yeah.
Mike,
they do.
Keep talking. My oldest kid, he wears flip flops everywhere. I'm like, it's snowing out.
Flip flops or slides?
Slides. Sorry.
Yeah.
Slides.
It's like I feel like I've never
with socks.
I've never worn slides. I've never ever worn slides, and I feel
what
like
are slides?
Slides are like there's no thing between your toes.
Oh.
Like your whole foot slides underneath it. Was it DJ Khaled or something like made those popular or something?
I don't
know. But like now all the kids wear them and just with socks and everything. It's like that
in winter. It's
just for shoes.
Put a pair of boots on. Bro.
I don't know, man.
Dude, straighten him out.
I got terrible circulation.
Maybe if you started farting in front of him, he'd be a little bit different.
Respect.
You gotta teach him the way.
I lay the law down when it's just the boys.
Then put the window lock on.
Puts that window lock on.
Taught them a Dutch oven early on.
My kids, for some reason, I don't even know where it came from, but they, whenever they fart, they say dinosaur. And whoever says dinosaur last has to make a pig sound. So like my entire house every morning is just the kids going like dinosaur, dinosaur, and then Rachel and I just like ignore them most of the time. Like, mommy and daddy, you have to say dinosaur. And then when we don't play, they pretend to be the dogs and play. And I'm like, all right, you guys have taken this too far. I don't even know where they come up with this stuff half the time.
YouTube. Yep.
Maybe. Try and limit the YouTube exposure.
Yeah, I did the same thing. When we were little, we had the first kid. It was like, yeah, no screen time for 2 years.
Yeah.
Till you
but it's
go
like,
out to
dude,
eat.
our kids are way smarter than us. Like my kid's like, I'll search it up, whatever it is, I'll search it up, and he'll have it before I can even Google it. And I'm like, that's today. You don't need to actually retain anything. You just Google it.
And never mind, like, it's like you try that. Like now, it's like we tried that with Marley for a little bit, and then you have the second, and then have a pandemic. It's like, whatever you like. Whatever you need.
It's like going out to dinner.
I've been watching Blippi on YouTube.
Oh, Blippi, dude, he's loaded too. He's loaded too.
Yeah, he makes massive money.
Yeah, so the one he had like a Lamborghini, a Ferrari in it, and I was like, who's giving him this car? And then it turns out like it's straight up his car.
Yeah.
It's like, damn.
But it's like I'm during our Christmas break, I just sat on the couch for I don't know how many hours and just watched children's shows with them. I'm like, there's nothing else we can do. We can't go anywhere. Nothing's open.
It's like we used to have before we had kids. We're like, can you imagine those people paying to go out to dinner and like their kids are on an iPad the whole time? And I'm like, yo, make sure you bring the iPads if we're going out to eat.
Is it charged?
Keep them quiet. Like whatever. I don't even care if you guys shut up. You can eat, whatever.
Yeah. Marley was so good going out because we'd go out all the time with her, and it's like Reed just never had the opportunity because of this. Yeah. And it's like the few times we've made it out, it's like we're like on a patio, and they're just absolute maniacs. And it's like this isn't even worth it. This is why people like lock them down with an iPad.
They have like a leash.
Yeah. Well, no, I refuse that.
You see that? I stop and watch those people. I'm like, what is going on over there?
And they pull it like a dog.
Yeah.
Like they yank them. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
I told Rachel the other day I was going to get like a front wearing like
Bjorn?
crotch dangler, for Polly. She was like, I hate you.
You'll do it though.
I know. I love that.
I did that once to like a cookout, and I was a sweaty mess.
The Bjorn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With I think probably Hunter.
Yeah.
I went to the cook. I'm like, this would be cool.
I think Tyler helped me get Marley in the baby Bjorn for the first time.
Probably, yeah. Actually, I did. We were
we were on the train.
Yeah. And there's some. I do remember that actually. Exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely a sweaty mess.
Yeah.
And then I'm pretty sure, who was I? I think I was holding Tilly at that point, and she threw up on me, and I didn't realize.
She
into my pocket.
No, she pooped.
Or she pooped. Oh, she pooped
it
through her
went down
diaper.
your back and into your pocket.
Yeah, and I didn't notice it till I went to get my wallet out. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, there's baby poop in my pocket."
We were out to eat. We were in the booth. And it was terrible.
Kids. It's a fun time.
man.
Oh, goodness.
Trying to get these friggin' stickers off this damn plate this guy brought. So what sorry. What you have any good jobs coming up, Casey? You like know what's coming down the pipeline?
Usually like a couple weeks before the job starts, but right now I'm doing this condo and I've got some other random jobs, so I'm not sure what like the next big job's going to be.
Yeah.
But hopefully it's a bigger job. I really enjoy the jobs that you're on 6+ months. You just completely tool in and stay there.
Yeah, get to set up.
Yep.
And then do they put you on specific jobs, kind of like fit you onto jobs that they think that you're going to be a better fit for those jobs, or is it just like whatever happens to be a break in the schedule?
It's usually for whoever's the best fit. Doesn't happen all the time, like trying to fit, there's like 20 carpenters.
Yeah.
Trying to fit that and make it work doesn't always happen, but for the most part, it is best fit for that job.
And then are you guys, what sort of labor do you guys own other than carpentry? Like, are you guys subbing out paint work, subbing out, tile, because you're doing remodeling and residential, so you're GCing that stuff, or are you guys just primarily doing carpentry?
No, we are the GC, and we sub out quite a bit. I mean, we'll sub out the tile, drywall, painting, roofing. We'll frame it, install windows, doors, trim it. But yeah, part of me wishes we could do more, like setting cabinets, stuff like that, more of the finishes. But that's pretty much what we do now.
So are your production guys setting cabinets, or are you guys having like a cabinet company do all of that?
Oh, we've got at least three or four cabinet subs. That depending on the job, they always set them.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like, Nick builds your own. Is that like typical for people to have? Like around here, it's more so that people go to a kitchen designer or a cabinet showroom, get cabinets, and then the GC or carpenters install them. Is it more typical out there to have like a cabinet sub who ends up either fabricating or purchasing and installing? Is that pretty typical for you?
Yep, that's typical for around here. It's a cabinet guys build and install the cabinets. So depending on the scale of the job, like we have cabinet guys that are better at modern details, and then depending on the budget, some fit better than others, but that's how it is around here anyway.
What about, I know, Nick, obviously you're building your own. John, are you guys, your carpentry crews setting cabinets?
No, we usually have the company install them. They own it, meaning same as like flooring. I hate buying flooring and then having someone else install it.
Yeah.
Because it just, someone's got to own it. They can't be this, disconnect from the product to the install.
But is your cabinet company, like, are they fabricating, installing, or are they purchasing then installing?
No, they're fabricating. Everything gets custom made that we have.
And is it
I can drive down to the shop. Yeah, it's good size. I think he's probably got 20,000 square feet spray booth. It's probably still too small for him, but it's way bigger. His last shop was an old bowling alley, and I went there and I'm like, how is this beautiful diamond of a cabinet coming out of that piece of crap shop? And then they moved into this, and I've been using them for almost 9 years, and the product's great. And then they install it, and so if something needs to get remade, or we just put a huge bench seat in, and he cut it wrong. He came downstairs. He's like, Johnny, I know you want this in, but I took a 1/2 inch off both sides instead of 1/2 inch total. Oh. So they had but then the beauty is you can bring it back to the shop.
Yeah.
Redid it, and then he painted it over the weekend, put it back in. So I have a really hard time. It needs to be an owner operated. I'm not doing box cabinets anywhere. It's just because then you got to wait for that. Something always comes wrong. Yeah. And then you got to wait for it, and you don't know if the batch is going to make, it's almost like buying tile. You don't know if that cabinet's going to match up, and I don't know. But same as flooring, I think. What else? That's it, though. Besides that, like even concrete, we supply concrete. Those guys place it. Lumber, we supply all that. Roofing, we control everything, because then we find that there can be an excuse where I couldn't get concrete. It's like, all right, I'll get you concrete whenever you want.
You ready to go for tomorrow?
Yeah, see you tomorrow at 10. You need a pump? I'll get you that too. So yeah, we try and there's only a few select things that we have them own it. Flooring, I did it once without them installing it, and it was, you start to get some gaps, and the installer's like, I didn't supply the flooring.
Yeah.
And it's like the flooring delivery guy, it stops when he drops it off, so then you got to do all the moisture content. And Casey actually brings up a good point is, are you controlling that part of it when the trim gets dropped off, and like what the site is like for you? Yeah. Is it like always ready for you, or is it like a lot of my jobs? I'm ready. Not really ready. I'm waiting for you to say you can't be there for 3 days, because then I will be ready in 3 days. Like, what's it like?
Yeah, the trim, and especially over the last few years, just knowing more about it, it depends on the job. Like, ideally, you have it set up, moisture content is good, but if you have it, I take, for example, I had a job a couple of years ago that I had all this this walnut trim, and they did not hook up the heat. And inside, like I have little sensors, like those AccuRide sensors or whatever. And it was myself and another trim guy, and it was 40 degrees inside the house. And then I kept pushing to get the heat on, and then they crank up the radiator heat. And within a day or two, I had flat casing that shrunk a 1/4 inch.
Wow.
That never went back. So it's, it's one of that is such a huge part of the trim, is getting it on site early and making sure it is that the conditions are as close as possible to what it is when they are going to move in and when they live there.
And then I feel like what I learned early on was like, if the walls aren't going to be primed, then you got to back prime the trim.
Yeah.
For us with plaster, it was huge, because that moisture can definitely bleed out. And then, I have it in my house now, and we had paneling in the family room, and we painted it, 5 years ago. And now I walk downstairs, and all I see is the knots. There's just knots everywhere bleeding through. So it's like, but like for my guys now, we have a lot of younger guys. It's like trying to teach them those things. It's like, you can't, like we're doing a couple deck stuff at Cohasset. I'm like, see all that raw wood that has to be primed. All this $3 million worth of work, this will fail, and this will be the thing that bites us in the ass. Is that little butt ends, little raw wood that doesn't get tapped with that little, I call it like that dry eraser, prime stick. It's all you need to do. It's the simplest thing. It's like $4, and it's those things. But like, how do you handle that if it's not primed? The walls, are you taking it upon yourself? Like, one of the questions I had here is like, you said earlier, not all our stuff's big numbers. It's some of it's average. Where do you find the line? Like, personally, you want to execute at the best level you can as a craftsman, but like, so you have to draw the line somewhere, and we have always said like it's hard to find
that. It's very hard to find that, because it depends on the job. It depends on the project manager. It's hard to say. Like, as far as the priming goes, like ideally, we have drywall around here that I like. If I go and trim, it's nice having the walls primed. Keeps the dust down. It's just like nice clean slate. But I've put up trims installed trim that they don't want to, for whatever reason, prime the walls. And around here, it's not a big deal to just put up the trim without priming the back. I've never seen an issue with that. But as far as that line, like I had a job a couple years ago that installing some trim, but it was like stored in a garage. And even if it's on sleepers, like you install this crown, like miters are good, tied up to the ceiling, come back the next year and it shrunk a 1/4 inch. Like it's a hard line. I don't have a real good answer for that
it's tough because even you manage all of that, and then just the way that certain rooms are set up, like we have a job that we did a built-in, and like where the heat registers are and just the shape of the room, the heat kind of ends up dying in this, like these 2 little corners next to the cabinet, and it basically just the finished end panels are like a moisture resistant MDF, and just the heat blowing on them probably shrunk things up on the sides like 3/16 of an inch. And just like everything was acclimated, it was on site, it was the last thing to go in, the heat was on, all that stuff, but it's just, the cabinet wasn't sitting there, and the HVAC company, like they're not directional registers, so there's just heat blowing on them, and that's the type of stuff that, like, no matter what you do, you don't foresee. It's like, all right, go in and float the wall out at that point to cover up those gaps, but it's like every little thing that you can do, it's nice to do, because then, like, when something doesn't go right, like in this situation, the customers didn't say anything. I'm there doing more work, and I went in to put the hardware on the cabinet. I was like, Jesus, that shrunk a lot, and was just like, I'm gonna fix it while I'm here. I'm not gonna wait for them to say something. But like, she knows that we took every measure to prevent those things from happening. So she was like, oh, I just assumed it was because we live really close to the train tracks, and like the train coming through kind of shook things loose. And I was like, I mean, I could tell you that, but like, no, that's not why it happened. It's just you try and account for all that stuff and cross your T's and dot your I's. Some things that you kind of can't plan for, but at least at that point, you're like, hey, if something does happen, there's nothing else we could have done.
True. I walked in.
Oh, and
go ahead.
Oh no. I mean, that's the way I like to approach things: is do everything you can, and if something happens, you're like, I don't know what else I could have done.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said, like, all my interior doors, all spray foam all around the jambs, because I've had doors that, like, I check it with my level, it is dead straight. I come back the next day, hang the door, and I'm like, oh, like, what just happened? Like, what moved? And to be able to do things like my miters doing biscuits or loose tenons, like whatever, and if it's painted and then it cracks, I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah.
Stuff like, it's out of your control. Like,
you did all you can.
What do you do?
No, I agree. And I can live with that stuff too, as long as I know that, we did everything we could. If we took a shortcut where we didn't put that effort in, it happened, it's like, what else am I going to do? That's just the way it's going to be.
The one thing I would like to do is the houses, especially when I trim, is to come back in a year or two and just see, how things are holding up.
When they don't call you.
When they don't, yeah. I mean, at the year, you have, like, our typical thing is after a year, we'll come back for paint touch-ups and just random stuff like that. But it'd be nice to come back and see, like, if something moves, cracks, I can change the way I do things.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always happen. Homeowners' schedules,
life.
Be nice, but in life, yep.
What were you going to say, John? You walk the house?
No, the only one that shocks me is, like, whenever you put, like, one of those gas inserts, fireplaces in, like, a bedroom.
Yeah.
And then you only expect them to use it every once in a while because it's just the, accent.
Yeah.
I walked into a house and it was like, you fire this every day, don't you?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, because everything, like, we do that. Everything's like 6%, 8%, and it's all dialed in. So it is a shock. Like Tyler, you said, you saw that panel. I pictured you getting, like, a slap in the face, like, whoa. Like,
yeah.
What is that? And I did that in that house, and I'm like, what the F happened? And then, like, it took me a second just looking around the room going, you must crank that fireplace. And they're like, yeah, every night.
Yeah.
You know, summertime, whatever. We love it. It's the best thing. And I'm like, yeah. Like, you can't tell them you shouldn't use it all the time. But it's like, maybe we should put the blower on it. Maybe, you know, we should put a return. I don't like, those are the times where you're like, after they live in it. Or we've had one client, just going way back, where they kept their heat at like 78 degrees in the house.
Oh, that's what this one's like.
And you're like, whoa, that's cooked. And then it's like, and then you say, you know, like casually, like without thinking it's scope creep or that you want more work, it's strictly just for it to look good. It's like, hey, you know, it's probably $2,500 to put humidity into all these HVAC systems. Like, you know, we can dial it in. I know it's more maintenance too, but I mean, have you seen this house?
Yeah.
Dude, we have one. I went back and I remember getting a text saying, hey, just an FYI, everyone's sick. So when you come here, just like try to stay away from everyone. And he wanted to look, I think we were looking at screw pops. I walk in and I'm like, why? I look at him, I'm like, it's really hot in here. And I walk by the thermostat, 81 degrees.
Oh my God.
And then I was checked the humidity.
And he was like, I
10%.
was like, why is the heat up so high? He's like, oh, my wife just likes to keep it warm. I'm like, okay, so let's just be clear. Like, this is why there's an issue, and this is probably why you guys are sick.
Yeah. You're like, yo, if you were going to keep your heat at 81, you should have told us that while we were working on it so we could have had everything acclimated at 81 and like 0% moisture content.
Dude, the kitchen, it was like the kitchen dropped a quarter inch. Everything was off the ceiling a quarter inch, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do. And we end up doing nothing. He didn't want to do anything about it, but I'm like,
well, the problem is you do something at that extreme, you can caulk it all, whatever you want. Then comes springtime.
Oh yeah, it's every 6 months.
Ooze all out, and then you're like, this is a never-ending story. I mean, we had one client for HVAC. They're like, you know what, the HVAC won't hit temperature, blah blah. I go there and it's like, do you actually close your windows? They literally had their windows open and wanted the AC to hit a certain temp at night. I'm like, this isn't how this system works. It's just so funny, just people that you get called for certain things, and it's just.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened on this job. I go in there and like the bedroom door's always closed. Like every room is isolated, and I get the thermostats in that room, and I go in and it's like 75 degrees in there. It's all windows, so the sun's baking it. Like, it is so hot up here. Like I have an old house, so it costs an arm and a leg to condition it, and it basically just like comes and goes as it pleases. So I'm not used to having like a stable house that's warm, and I get in there, I like get dressed at my house and I have on overalls and 3/4 sleeve shirt, and then I get there and I'm like, think it'd be okay if I just went overalls with no shirt on underneath? Like, I am dying right now. So hot. But yeah, I mean, that was small enough. Like, it's the type of thing too where you look around, everything else in the room's intact. The casing is intact. Like, the baseboard's all intact. Everything looks good except for this one section. You start figuring out what the heck's going on. It's just floating the wall out at that point. But yeah, you can't caulk that. It's like, come winter time, or once they get some moisture back in that room, it's going to be like squeezing the caulk.
And it's funny, you can explain it 100 times over 100 different jobs, but you still have to explain it to the next client. Like, even Cohasset, we renovated that house, and now we're running the heat for the first time, like for reals. Like, we put in the herringbone floor, all this stuff, and there's a part of the herringbone that's gapping a little bit at the fridge, and you can see it. You know when you sand a floor up to a cabinet and then it starts to dry out, and now you can see the sanding has now come closer. You can see the edge of it. And so I was like, it's the boiler. The boiler is now kicked on. It's right below that spot. So we closed cell foam. We flashed the ceiling of that mechanical room to kind of prevent, hopefully after a season it will then acclimate back to where it needs to be. But it's like trying to explain that to a client. It's like, you got to let this sit. The gap's it's not extravagant. It's not like huge, but it's like it will come back together. And they're like, well, do you think we should have another floor guy come in and evaluate the flooring? And I'm just like, how do I do this in a calm, assertive manner where everyone's on the same page? It's like, no, we're not trying to get away with something. It's
they're like, think you're blowing smoke up their ass.
Yeah, but it's logically that boiler the boiler's been off since we moved into the place because I was like, I don't want to run this. This thing's brand new. Let's leave it. And now that thing's cooking in the mechanical room is probably like a third of my office, and it's like that's why it's happening. But we dig it.
You can try and plan for as much as you want. There's just some things you can't.
But it's also nice natural products.
Yeah. Know? That's why it's nice to be able to do it as much as you can. At that point, be like, there's nothing else that we could have done, so let's figure this out at this point.
Well, it's cool that you can narrow it down to like two things.
Yeah.
Whenever you walk into something, there's like one or two things. You're like, all right, it's got to be this or that. If it's a third thing, then, what are the odds?
Who the hell knows?
Well, then you just add it to the list. The ever-growing list of just stuff like that. The unexpected.
Stuff that keeps you up at night.
One more thing when you go to do it next time, we're like, don't forget about this. Yeah. One more thing to confuse a potential employee about. Make sure they put directional registers in there. Oh, well. All right, Casey.
Appreciate you being on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
The kids were quiet out in the shop. Were they screaming?
No, the kids were pretty good, and even Leonard, you didn't hear him barking, so that was pretty good.
Hopefully you're sitting in
Leonard's
something comfortable.
Leonard's a great name for a dog.
Yeah, it is.
Leonard's a boss. Leonard.
He should be with that name.
Right.
Oof.
He fucking set the tone, bro.
Leonard, get in the house.
Imagine that you're walking across the field, and you're going to look and be like, where's the 80-year-old man that just wandered away from the retirement home?
Oh, goodness.
It's a good name.
It is a great name.
Leonard Skinner.
Yeah.
Okay, Casey, for those who don't follow you, where can everyone find you?
Pretty much just on Instagram, Casey Knips. Don't have pretty basic, but with my life right now, that's as much as I can.
There you
Instagram is pretty much it.
Where can we find your company?
And you're positive that K is not silent.
I am 100% positive that the K is not silent.
Just checking.
And my wife, when we listened to the last podcast, she was like, "Are you going to correct him? That
it's really not silent?"
No, you pronounce the K.
Oh, I still don't believe that, but okay.
She was like, "Are you going to say anything to them? Like, are you going to bring it up?" I was like, "I don't know, probably not." She's like, "Do you want me to message them to tell them it's with the K?" And I was like, "No, I don't want you to do that."
She's awesome.
That's funny. Yeah. That's like our daughter Selby. Everyone calls her Shelby, and we told her like you can correct people that your name is not Shelby and it's Selby. So like ever since she's been little, she's like it's Selby, S-E, no H. I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome.
It's weird to do like once you get to be an adult where I don't want to correct people with stuff like that.
Yeah, just let it go.
I tell people they can call me whatever they want.
It's true.
Yeah.
Fact.
I still don't have Nick. Doesn't believe me, but that's all right.
No, that's okay. I'll remember it now.
Oh, I don't care.
No.
I've been called that my entire life, so that's I'm definitely used to that.
I mean, it makes sense. I feel like if you had to choose between the two, Knips versus Nips.
Oh,
right?
I like Knips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was not silent either, but you learn something new every day.
Now we know.
That's right.
All right, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah,
thanks
you.
For being on.
Say hi to Ellie.
Will do.
See you, dude.
We'll talk
to you
guys.
So we get a couple reviews. We actually have a 1-star review.
Oh no, it's probably my fault. My bad.
It is not. Linda F. Bird. Really? Since you obviously... Linda F. Bird. Yeah, I don't know. Really? Since you obviously consider women worthy of being interviewed, how about you rename the podcast to Craftspeople? It's time for these male-centric terms to go, please. I don't know if I fully believe that that's a legitimate review.
Wait, that's the review? That's it?
Yeah.
So the Modern Craftsman got a 1 star because it's called the Modern Craftsman?
Yeah, instead of craftspeople. Which, well, let's just leave that there.
It's all right. I can live with that.
But we got a few other. I mean, we got a ton of others. Rob the Woodworker, don't normally comment on these, but I got to support something that's good. Love how you guys have multiple perspectives from guys just starting out to well-known businesses. Super inspiring when trying to build a woodworking side hustle. Union proud. Iron workers hate concrete carpenter because we're better welders. Great show, Rob Carpenter's UL number 13 in Chicago. And then best podcast, I was feeling like I was the only one in our industry caring about craftsman quality and building a great company until I found this podcast. Podcast shares so much information that is specific to the building industry, which is hard to find. Keep up the amazing content, guys. Also, please keep the conversations on business development and leadership, as it is helpful more than you guys know. Thanks for what you're doing, which is great. And then we got one from, why does Nick say cheers?
Someone said that on the questionnaire. The comments, why did Nick stop saying cheers?
Wait, this is the name that filled it out?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
You guys are doing a great job. I listen weekly while working. You are bringing major issues in the construction industry to light. Keep up the great work, showing that being in the trades isn't something to do because you can't do anything else. So,
it's a good one.
Yeah, I got a few other good ones, but appreciate everyone's reviews. And if you do have constructive or non-constructive criticism, feel
suggestions.
Free to fill out the
I
survey.
mean, I'm down
monkey.
for I'm down for if you think it's a legitimate 1 star, but that's not a legitimate 1 star. Come on.
No.
You can add more to that. That doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, it's not. This isn't about a gender thing. We absolutely invite. And with that being said, if you guys have some female guests that want to be on, be totally open for it. Ellie, who was just on just a few weeks ago, they just launched her new masterclass.
Yeah, I saw
on MT Copeland, along with Aaron Butt and Ken DeCoste. So
Big Ken making moves this year, huh? Oh, there's
Damn.
notebooks. Did he throw a little notebook in there on that?
I hope so. Yeah, I sure hope so. I gotta watch it. I wanted to watch it tonight.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, if you guys haven't checked it out, MT Copeland masterclass on industry topics. Ken talks.
You'll probably see us repost it. And throw some
for
links.
sure. All right, guys. Well, talk is cheap, and the folks at Duration will tell you that their best customer is someone who brought product 18 months ago or 2 years ago, installed it, and then circled back to see how the product and their craftsmanship performed through the seasons. If you're serious about your work, take a serious look at Duration. And to learn more about Duration Polyash products, please visit their website at durationmillwork.com.